Chapter 494. The moment the primordial war dragon appeared, it let out a roar and soared into the sky. In the sky, countless lightning tribulations turned into ancient beasts and started fighting. Chu Fengmian stood in the void with his hands behind his back. His sword intent poured out. Chu Fengmian's sword intent had already reached the level of sword intent manifestation. However, Chu Fengmian had never been able to form the primordial war dragon. Although Chu Fengmian knew the aura of the primordial war dragon, he was still lacking a little. This time, after entering the divine power realm, Chu Fengmian's understanding of the battle dragon art deepened. Instantly, it was enough for his sword intent to form the primordial war dragon. The two strongest forces in Chu Fengmian's hands merged into one. When the primordial war dragon appeared and saw the countless lightning tribulations turning into ancient beasts, it roared and chased after them. His sword intent was enough to fight against the lightning tribulations. In the current 9 regions, only Chu Fengmian could do such a terrifying thing. The primordial war dragon rushed into the countless lightning beasts. It opened its mouth and bit at them. A true dragon formed by lightning was immediately crushed and turned into pure lightning energy. The primordial war dragon swallowed it and turned it into extremely pure energy to refine Chu Fengmian's body. Every time the primordial war dragon tore apart a lightning beast, Chu Fengmian's strength would rise steadily. Everyone could obtain endless benefits after passing a life and death tribulation. Although Chu Fengmian did not attract a life and death tribulation after entering the life and death realm, the effect was the same. Moreover, Chu Fengmian's heavenly tribulation was the legendary 10,000 Lightning Emperor tribulation. Every time it devoured, Chu Fengmian's aura would become denser and his strength would become purer. This was a tribulation. It was as if he was passing a life and death tribulation. In a few breaths' time, the primordial war dragon had crushed countless lightning beasts and integrated their spiritual energy into Chu Fengmian's body. Rumble! Rumble! Rumbles could be heard from the thunderclouds, making the heavens even more furious. Suddenly, from the countless thunderclouds, almost 10,000 lightning tribulations appeared at the same time and rained down. These tribulation lightning bolts condensed into a 1,000-meter-thick tribulation lightning bolt that descended. Within the huge lightning tribulation, there were actually countless sharp swords. They were the heavenly punishment swords formed by the lightning tribulation. Each of these heavenly punishment swords was enough to annihilate an ordinary life and death expert. Now, there were thousands of heavenly punishment swords in the tribulation thunder. The power contained in each of the heavenly punishment swords represented the power of heavenly punishment. They wanted to kill Chu Fengmian completely. You're finally getting serious? You have heavenly punishment, but I have good fortune. Sword of creation. Chu Fengmian's eyes snapped open as the 1,000 heavenly punishment swords descended. He communicated with the sword embryo, and the power in his body started to circulate. The moment the sword embryo in his body sensed the heavenly punishment sword, the power of creation also appeared abruptly. It surrounded Chu Fengmian's body and merged with his sword intent. Heavenly punishment originated from fortune, and the core of the heavenly punishment was precisely fortune. As soon as the power of creation appeared, Chu Fengmian's aura rose steadily. Facing the countless heavenly punishment swords, Chu Fengmian waved his hand. Countless power of creation condensed in Chu Fengmian's hand and slashed at the sky. Walala! Countless heavenly punishment swords shattered before the power of creation. They were destroyed and dissolved one after another. Everything in the world, everything is fortune. Chu Fengmian roared. The sword of creation tore through the sky and slashed out. Immediately, it split into thousands of swords of creation and slashed out at the same time. The depths of the void were filled with swords. Countless tribulation lightning bolts were severed and devoured by these swords. Blasphemy against fortune. The heavenly Tao won't tolerate it. Amidst the countless thunderclouds, a furious roar suddenly resounded. This voice wasn't a human voice, but a heavenly voice. The voice of heavens will condensed out of thin air. As soon as this voice appeared, it transformed into countless rolling thunderbolts, turning into a sea of thunderbolts that poured down in torrents. This sea of thunderbolts contained countless sea beasts. These sea beasts were similarly formed from the purest thunderbolt. Each of these sea beasts was terrifying to the extreme. The strongest few of them didn't lose out to fourth-level life and death experts in terms of aura alone. Heavenly Tao doesn't tolerate it? If Heavenly Tao doesn't tolerate me, then I'll destroy you. Chu Fengmian roared. With the sword of creation in his hand, he stepped into the sea of thunderbolt. The moment Chu Fengmian stepped in, countless thunderbolts followed his body and swept over with a roar, intending to destroy him. However, Chu Fengmian's body trembled. His dragon's might condensed, and the surrounding thunderbolts completely dissipated. Chu Fengmian was inside the sea of thunderbolts, but these thunderbolts simply couldn't approach his body. These sea beasts are all the power of the lightning tribulation. Very well, I'll kill these sea beasts and thoroughly devour the power of the lightning tribulation. Chu Fengmian coldly shouted. His feet moved, and he directly rushed towards the sea beast. Boom! Countless thunderbolts sensed Chu Fengmian's actions and condensed their power, wanting to resist. However, Chu Fengmian's sword broke through countless thunderbolts. These thunderbolts were far from being able to stop Chu Fengmian's power. A sword suddenly slashed towards one of the gigantic sea beasts. In an instant, that incomparably huge sea beast was directly killed. Countless thunderbolts flowed out from within, and Chu Fengmian saw a trace of colorless spiritual energy with a glance. The power of creation. This was the power of creation contained within the heavenly tribulation. Condense. Sword embryo. Forge the sword body. Chu Fengmian opened his mouth wide and swallowed the power of creation into his body. Sword cultivators were different from other martial artists. When other martial artists stepped into the divine power realm, they would condense a domain. The power of the domain was the manifestation of their power. However, as a sword cultivator, once he stepped into the divine power realm, he would have to break the sword embryo, forge the sword body, and condense his own sword origin. His sword embryo was forged with the power of creation. Now that he was borrowing the power of the heavenly tribulation, he wanted to break the sword embryo and condense the sword body. Rumble. Countless thunderbolts were devoured by Chu Fengmian. The origin of these thunderbolts belonged to the power of creation, and Chu Fengmian had integrated it into the sword embryo. Suddenly, the sword embryo broke through the critical point. The outer shell suddenly shattered, and a 3-inch small sword suddenly condensed in Chu Fengmian's mind. Chapter 495. The 3-inch sword was pocket-sized, but it contained unparalleled power. The power of creation. The 3-inch sword was formed from the power of creation. It also contained Chu Fengmian's sword realm. This was Chu Fengmian's natal sword energy. The natal sword energy contained all of Chu Fengmian's power. It was formed from the most powerful power of creation. It was more powerful than any powerful sword cultivator in history. Even the master of Sword Dao, the Sword Dao's natal sword energy could not compare to the natal sword energy formed from the power of creation. In the history of the 9 regions, Chu Fengmian was probably the only crazy person who dared to use the power of creation to form the natal sword energy. Chu Fengmian stood up and finally revealed a smile on his face. After forming the natal sword energy, Chu Fengmian finally dared to call himself a sword cultivator. Only by forming the natal sword energy could one be considered a true sword cultivator. Chu Fengmian scanned his surroundings and said in his heart, "Sword energy, out." The 3-inch sword suddenly appeared in front of Chu Fengmian. The moment the 3-inch sword appeared, the surrounding void was filled with countless sharp sword intents. The surrounding lightning was shattered by the sword intent. They were crushed, subdued, and devoured by the sword intent. Chu Fengmian lifted his head and looked at the thunderclouds in the sky. Suddenly, a smile appeared on his face. His body moved abruptly and shot into the clouds. The 10,000 Lightning Emperor's tribulation was something that countless demon-like geniuses in the world were afraid of. But now, in front of Chu Fengmian, it was used by Chu Fengmian, who devoured the power to condense the natal sword origin. Kill, 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 kill. In the depths of the void, the word kill could be heard. The power of the thunderclouds was still rising. Countless huge tribulation lightning bolts as thick as a person were condensing. Every tribulation lightning bolt was much stronger than the previous one. The heaven's will was going to destroy Chu Fengmian at all costs. Rumbles sounded again and again, spreading throughout the void. These countless bolts of calamity thunder fused together to form a majestic figure. The Thunder Emperor was a supreme being who could control the thunder of heaven and earth. This was the final calamity of the 10,000 Lightning Emperor's tribulation, the great trial of Lightning Emperor. The Thunder Emperor's descent was like a monarch overlooking the world. His king's aura was enough to make countless life and death experts cower in fear. They didn't even have the courage to look him in the eye. The Thunder Emperor was rumored to be a peerless expert formed from the first strand of lightning in the world during the primordial era. Even the previous master of the sword Dao might not have reached the level of the Thunder Emperor. He was a true unrivaled king. Thunder Emperor's trial. The punishment of all crimes under heaven. The Lightning Emperor, formed by countless bolts of tribulation lightning, looked at Chu Fengmian with murderous intent in his eyes. Suddenly, countless bolts of tribulation lightning shot towards Chu Fengmian. The tribulation lightning was black, the deepest kind of black. It represented the lightning of a sinner, a terrifying tribulation lightning that would only appear when dealing with someone who had committed the most heinous of crimes. It rumbled toward Chu Fengmian. Guilty? Even if I am guilty, no one has the right to judge me, not even the Thunder Emperor. Chu Fengmian raised his head and roared at the Thunder Emperor. Before the true Thunder Emperor, I'm not afraid. What can a mere Thunder Emperor condensed from lightning do? Chu Fengmian let out a long roar in the face of the Thunder Emperor, who was overlooking the world with boundless might. Not only was he not afraid, he directly charged towards the Thunder Emperor in the sky with the sword of creation in his hand. Before the Thunder Emperor, even the strongest existence would be afraid. After all, the Thunder Emperor represented the trial of heaven's will. Everyone revered heaven's will. In front of the Thunder Emperor, they trembled, their hearts filled with fear. Countless geniuses in the past had died during the 10,000 Lightning Emperor's trial, the great trial of the Lightning Emperor. However, there was no fear on Chu Fengmian's face when he faced him. His heart was as calm as still water, and he was extremely calm. In his opinion, this Thunder Emperor was no different from any of the enemies he had encountered before. As long as there was no fear in his heart, the Thunder Emperor was no more than an emperor of lightning. Chu Fengmian wanted to be the emperor of the 9 domains. How could he let others control and judge him? Die. Limitless sword. Chu Fengmian held the sword of fortune in his hand and broke through the air. In an instant, he charged into the sky and slashed at the Thunder Emperor. This slash of his had already surpassed an ordinary sword edge. When the slash was made, there was no sword edge. However, in the next instant, the surrounding void seemed to be distorted. The sword edge split into millions and was buried in every region of the void. When it appeared at the same time, it slashed at the Thunder Emperor from all directions. No matter who you are, you won't be able to escape the trial. The Thunder Emperor's eyes were filled with rage as he looked at Chu Fengmian. Blasphemy! I'll die for betraying you! Rumble! The Lightning Emperor was enraged. Endless thunderbolts split out from his body and exploded one after another. The entire void was filled with the sound of countless thunderbolts exploding. These countless explosions surrounded Chu Fengmian's body, wanting to blow him into pieces. Countless weapons descended from the sky. These weapons were formed by countless bolts of tribulation lightning, and they were all aimed at Chu Fengmian. Endless explosions and countless weapons bombarded Chu Fengmian at the same time, wanting to kill him. Don't even think about judging me. 10,000 lightning emperor tribulation? Destroy them all. Chu Fengmian roared. His aura changed completely. He was incomparably dignified and his eyes were extremely clear. The sword of fortune in his hand slashed out instantly. Countless thunderbolts exploded in the surroundings and weapons were all destroyed by the sword. All of the power was devoured by Chu Fengmian and integrated into his body. And you, Thunder Emperor, you will be devoured by me too. Chu Fengmian looked at the Thunder Emperor and rushed over. The sword of fortune in his hand pierced into the Thunder Emperor's body. Rumble! Endless lightning exploded. The Thunder Emperor's body was destroyed instantly, splitting into countless lightning tribulations and exploding. The entire void seemed to be vibrating. An extremely terrifying aura burst out from Chu Fengmian's body all of a sudden. Break! Chu Fengmian said indifferently. The surrounding lightning tribulations were destroyed and the explosions stopped at the same time. The entire void turned silent in an instant. The 10,000 Lightning Emperor's calamity had ended. The Thunder Emperor's destruction also signaled the end of the 10,000 Lightning Emperor's calamity. Chapter 496. Suddenly, the void calmed down. Chu Fengmian's power also gradually calmed down, as though nothing had changed. However, anyone who looked at Chu Fengmian's aura would feel that something was different. It was as though Chu Fengmian had undergone an earth-shattering change. After passing the 10,000 Lightning Emperor tribulation and destroying the Lightning Emperor, Chu Fengmian had an aura of disdain for everything. Chu Fengmian wasn't afraid at all in front of him, no matter how powerful the opponent was. If Chu Fengmian wasn't even afraid of the trial of heaven's will, what could the others do? After passing the 10,000 Lightning Emperor tribulation, Chu Fengmian's power had changed greatly. However, it couldn't be compared to the change in his mentality. An expert must have the mentality to remain calm even if Mount Tai were to collapse in front of him. Otherwise, if he were to encounter an expert, he would be fearful and would not have any chance to fight back. He had finally entered the divine power realm and passed the 10,000 Lightning Emperor tribulation. Chu Fengmian's heart was filled with joy. He had finally broken free from the category of an ant. Let's go. After passing the 10,000 Thunders Emperor's trial and condensing the natal sword energy, Chu Fengmian's true records had taken another step forward. Even if he encountered the real Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling in the Void Sea, Chu Fengmian was confident that he could obtain all the opportunities within. His figure flashed and left the depths of the void in an instant. However, the effects of the 10,000 Lightning Emperor tribulation weren't limited to this. The moment the 10,000 Lightning Emperor tribulation passed, everyone in the 9 regions could feel it. Countless hidden old antiques opened their eyes one after another. Their eyes were filled with shock. Someone passed the 10,000 Lightning Emperor tribulation. Who is it? Who is it? This aura is from the North region. To think that such a person would appear in the desolate North region. It has been 1,000 years since anyone passed the 10,000 Lightning Emperor tribulation. Another terrifying expert is about to appear in the 9 regions. Some of the old antiques couldn't help but sigh when they sensed the aura. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that the 9 regions were shaken. Countless news spread throughout the 9 regions within a day. Especially in the North region's North Sea Academy, the aura they felt was even more obvious. Since when did such a person pass the 10,000 Lightning Emperor tribulation in our North region? Even the first 10,000 Lightning Emperor tribulation was 1,000 years ago, let alone passing it. Countless old antiques in the depths of North Sea Academy were awakened and started discussing. An ancient voice suddenly appeared. The tone was filled with a hint of surprise. The 10,000 Thunders Emperor's trial is near our North Sea College. If such a disciple appears in our Northern Mang Academy, we will definitely nurture him well. If we nurture a genius that has passed the 10,000 Lightning Emperor tribulation well, he will be able to help our North Sea College compete with the 7 great sects. Soon, another ancient voice sounded, and it sounded slightly disappointed. According, who is D of him? The owner of the voice was surprised. Within the Northern Territory, among the countless forces, the only ones most likely to produce such a genius were the Northern Sea Academy and the Earth Demon sect. Although the Earth Demon sect's influence in the Northern Territory wasn't as great as the Northern Sea Academy's, no one dared to compete for the second position. If such a genius appears among the disciples of Earth Demon sect, we have to kill him. Earth Demon sect has always been suppressed by our North Sea Academy, but their forces have grown stronger. Once such a genius grows up, the Earth Demon sect will have another expert. It will be enough to contend with our Northern Mang Academy. A murderous voice could be heard all of a sudden. Such a genius must be killed. A series of discussions took place. Silence. The most authoritative voice sounded and suppressed all the discussions. News from Earth Demon sect. They are also looking for the person. Looks like he isn't a disciple of Earth Demon sect. If he isn't a disciple of our North Sea Academy or Earth Demon sect, he must be a genius who had a fortuitous encounter. Such a genius without any forces should be roped in. If we can get him to join our North Sea Academy, we will have a chance to compete with the 7 major sections. Quickly send people to search for this person. We can't let the Earth Demon sect get ahead of us and find him. If we can't get him to join us, kill him. Otherwise, he will be a disaster. The voice was firm, and it was an unquestionable order. No one dared to refute his words. Yes. Countless voices sounded at the same time and left. At the same time, in another underground cave, a few experts were talking to each other. The 10,000 Lightning Emperor tribulation has appeared. Someone has passed the 10,000 Lightning Emperor tribulation. This person isn't a disciple of North Sea Academy. He must be a genius who had a fortuitous encounter. Find him and bring him to our Earth Demon sect. If we can find him and nurture him, we can use him to deal with North Sea Academy. Toppling North Sea Academy is just around the corner. There were many such voices. Almost all the forces in the North region were discussing who had passed the 10,000 Lightning Emperor tribulation, roping in, stifling countless different opinions. In less than a day, the entire North region was bustling with activity. It had been 1,000 years since the North region was so lively. Today was the day that the 9 regions were truly shaken. Chu Fengmian, who was at the center of all this, had no idea that his passing of the 10,000 Lightning Emperor tribulation had caused such a huge commotion. He only broke through space and returned to North Sea Academy. Once Chu Fengmian returned to North Sea Academy, he noticed the jade talisman in his spatial ring vibrating. He opened it and saw that it was Bai Xian calling for him. Chu Fengmian, my cave dwelling is in the 5th grade mountain range, Cloud Mountain Range. Come to my cave dwelling. Bai Xian's voice rang out. After that, there was no more sound. Chu Fengmian moved and immediately arrived at the 5th grade mountain range, Cloud Mountain Range. Almost without making a sound, he entered the place. There were countless restrictions and arrays set up in each of these cultivation mountains. If it was in the past, Chu Fengmian would have to wait for Bai Xian to bring him in. But now, Chu Fengmian had stepped into the divine power realm and passed the 10,000 Lightning Emperor tribulation. His strength had increased tremendously. These restrictions and arrays were like children's toys in front of Chu Fengmian. They couldn't stop Chu Fengmian at all. Chu Fengmian easily passed through the restrictions and arrays and arrived at the Cloud Mountain Range. He searched for Bai Xian's aura and came to Bai Xian's cave dwelling. Chapter 497. Chu Fengmian arrived in front of Bai Xian's cave dwelling and revealed his aura. He did not hide it anymore. At this moment, Bai Xian noticed Chu Fengmian in front of her cave. Oh! Even Bai Xian's face was filled with surprise. You've made a breakthrough. I didn't expect you to break through the restriction of the Cloud Mountain Range. Looks like your accumulation in the Imperial Wind Realm can't be underestimated. With the restrictions on the Cloud Mist Mountain Range, even Bai Xian herself would find it difficult to sneak in. But now, Chu Fengmian was able to sneak in without making a sound. This was beyond Bai Xian's expectation. It's just a small breakthrough. With my strength, I could have entered the Divine Power Realm long ago. I'm just accumulating my strength, Chu Fengmian said casually. He wasn't humble. After all, being humble would only make others look down on him. Since he was going to explore the Void Ocean with Bai Xian to find Dragon Emperor Yan's cave, Chu Fengmian had to at least show his strength that was on par with Bai Xian. Only then would there be room for cooperation. Entering the Divine Power Realm. With your current strength, it's only a matter of time before you become an inner disciple. You should be able to rank in the top 10 of the Earth ranking. That's good too. Originally, some people had some doubts about your strength, but now your strength is enough to stand shoulder to shoulder with us, Bai Xian said with a smile. You and Han Yueli are two monsters. I don't know where you came from. Each of you is more monstrous than the other. What's going on with Yueli? Chu Fengmian was stunned when he heard Bai Xian's words. He didn't know much about Han Yueli, but judging from Bai Xian's words, she seemed to know something. Bai Xian was an inner disciple after all. She was considered an elder in the Baiming Academy. Naturally, her information channels were much better than Chu Fengmian's. Although Chu Fengmian had asked around in the Baiming Academy, he didn't know much. After all, Han Yueli was an elder's disciple. She had a high status. There were many things that Chu Fengmian didn't know. You don't know? Looks like she's still cultivating in the secret realm. That's why she didn't have time to tell you. Bai Xian was a little surprised when she heard Chu Fengmian's words. Actually, I heard about it from my master. My master is Elder Hong Jun of the Baiming Academy. He is an old friend of Elder Bingley. That's why I know some things. Actually, when junior sister Han Yueli came to the Northern Sea Academy, she was sent to the Northern Sea Secret Realm to cultivate by Elder Bingley. Of the Secret Realm. Of Baiming of the Dragon Academy. The Baiming Academies was cultivation. Of the Baiming Academies. Was of the Baiming Academies was. Of the Baiming was of the Academies. S. As long as you. Was of course it. Was. T to B of TS. Looks like Elder Bingley really wants to nurture Han Yueli. She actually sent her to the Northern Sea Secret Territory. It was no wonder that Chu Fengmian couldn't find any information about Han Yueli. The secret realm wasn't something that Chu Fengmian could come into contact with right now. While Chu Fengmian thought to himself, Bai Xian continued to speak. Yesterday, Han Yueli crossed the life and death calamity in our Baiming Academy's secret realm and stepped into the life and death realm. Moreover, Han Yueli crossed the Thousand Thunder Emperor calamity. Bai Xian's words were like a clap of thunder, causing Chu Fengmian's face to reveal a bit of shock. Han Yueli had broken through to the life and death realm and attracted the Thousand Thunder Emperor calamity. Although the Thousand Thunder Emperor calamity couldn't compare to the 10,000 Thunder Emperor calamity, it could only attract geniuses among geniuses. Han Yueli's aptitude was indeed good. She had drawn out the profound cold energy in her body and attracted the Thousand Thunder Emperor calamity. Once she crossed it, it would bring great benefits to Han Yueli's future. After entering the life and death realm, with Han Yueli's aptitude, she wouldn't be weaker than some third or fourth layer life and death experts. Her strength in the Baiming Academy might have already surpassed ordinary elders, and her status would soar. Han Yueli's status is no longer below that of many elders. She has even received the attention of some old fogies of the Academy. They have already announced her promotion to seed disciple. Bai Xian looked at Chu Fengmian. Seeing that there wasn't any worry on his face, only joy, she couldn't help but exclaim. You're not worried? What should I be worried about? Chu Fengmian smiled casually. The stronger Han Yueli was, the happier Chu Fengmian would be. At the very least, her status in the Beiming Academy would rise, and she would be a lot safer. After all, Han Yueli had the profound cold body, an innate godly body. To many martial artists this was a great temptation. The stronger Han Yueli was, the more relieved Chu Fengmian would be. Han Yueli's current status has already surpassed yours and mine. She has received the attention of many old fogies of the Beiming Academy. I'm afraid she might become a core disciple. Bai Xian looked at Chu Fengmian with a strange light in her eyes. Although you've broken through, you're still only at the 4th layer of the divine power realm. There's still a big gap between you and the life and death realm. At most, you can become an inner disciple. It's said that many core disciples of the Beiming Academy are pursuing Han Yueli. Even the number 1 core disciple, the leader of the Saint faction, Yi Tianjun, is pursuing her. Your relationship with Han Yueli isn't as simple as a friend, right? Aren't you worried? Bai Xian was also observing Chu Fengmian's expression when she spoke. Any change in Chu Fengmian's expression couldn't escape her eyes. But what made her disappointed was that Chu Fengmian's expression didn't show any worry or jealousy. There wasn't even any change. There was only an extremely calm and confident smile. I'm happy that Yueli's status has risen. As for the others, if they dare to have any ideas about Han Yueli, only death awaits them. Chu Fengmian calmly said. However, there was a chilling murderous intent in his voice. Even Bai Xian couldn't help but shudder the moment she felt the killing intent. Chu Fengmian's cultivation was only at the 4th layer of the divine power realm. But when Bai Xian heard his voice, her heart was filled with fear. It wasn't that Chu Fengmian wasn't worried or jealous, but he was confident that he would kill anyone who dared to have any ideas about Han Yueli. Even if it was the number 1 core disciple, Yi Tianjun, Chu Fengmian would kill him sooner or later. Chapter 498. An outer disciple, a divine power realm martial artist, dared to say that he could kill Yi Tianjun. If Bai Xian were to hear this from someone else, she would probably be laughing so hard that she could not breathe. Who was Yi Tianjun? He was the number 1 disciple of the North Sea Academy, a core disciple with an innate godly body. Chaos godly body. This chaos godly body was one of the top 10 innate godly bodies. Chu Fengmian's strength had reached the peak of life and death realm. In terms of true strength, he had even surpassed the life and death realm. Not to mention an outer disciple, even an inner disciple or seed disciple would be dreaming if they dared to say that they could deal with Yi Tianjun. But now, Chu Fengmian's words revealed boundless confidence. This confidence stunned Bai Xian, but she couldn't refute it. This person's aptitude is indeed high. Perhaps he won't be weaker than Yi Tianjun after he matures. Even if he can't contend against Yi Tianjun in the future, he'll still have some achievements in the North Sea Academy. It's not a bad choice to befriend him, Bai Xian thought inwardly. She already understood Chu Fengmian's character a little. What was more valuable was that he wasn't like many martial artists who would betray their friends for benefits. Chu Fengmian had always valued friendship. This was the most valuable trait among martial artists. If one befriended Chu Fengmian, at least he wouldn't stab them in the back. That was why Bai Xian was willing to rope Chu Fengmian in and invite him to explore the Void Ocean and Dragon Emperor Yan's cave. Although Han Yueli's matter was sensational, there's another even more sensational matter in the North Sea Academy. I wonder if you've heard about it. Bai Xian purposely kept him in suspense. Chu Fengmian naturally knew that it was about the 10,000 Lightning Emperor tribulation. However, he pretended to be at a loss and said casually, I just left the Saint Mountain. I wonder what happened in the North Sea Academy? It seems like you don't know, but it's normal for you to cultivate in the Saint Mountain. Bai Xian slowly said, her eyes filled with shock. It's not about our North Mang College. It's about the entire North region and even the 9 regions. A genius has passed the 10,000 Lightning Emperor Tribulation. 10,000 Thunder Emperor's Calamity? Are you a disciple of our North Sea Academy? Chu Fengmian pretended to be shocked. Who is it? I don't know. He's not a disciple of our North Mang Academy. Countless elders of the North Mang Academy have already left the academy to investigate. Bai Xian said. Even many of the old antiques in the college have come out to find out who passed the 10,000 Thunder Emperor's trial. This person should not be from that large faction. Therefore, not only our Northern Mang Academy, the Earth Devil sect and countless other factions in the northern region are also searching for traces of this person. Although Bai Xian's words were filled with envy and jealousy, most of it was a sigh. Although this person has passed the 10,000 Lightning Emperor Tribulation, he has attracted quite a number of calamities. I'm afraid that no matter which force he joins, he will be hunted down and assassinated. A genius who has passed the 10,000 Thunder Emperor Tribulation. If he matures, he will definitely be able to influence the current situation of the North region. No faction is willing to give birth to such a terrifying expert. After hearing Bai Xian's words, Chu Fengmian's heart was drenched in cold sweat. Chu Fengmian was originally overjoyed that he had passed the 10,000 Thunder Emperor Tribulation. However, after hearing Bai Xian's words, Chu Fengmian finally understood. Although he had obtained countless benefits from this, he had also encountered many dangers. A genius who could pass the 10,000 Thunder Emperor Tribulation would be able to influence the North region and even the 9 regions once he matured. Just like how Chu Fengmian belonged to the North Mang College. If he announced this news, the North Mang College would definitely nurture Chu Fengmian. However, a faction like the Earth Devil sect, which was hostile to the North Mang College, would also go crazy to assassinate and kill Chu Fengmian. No matter how well protected they were, when faced with the pursuit of a colossal force, there was only one way for them to survive. Fortunately, Chu Fengmian didn't reveal this news. He also understood the commotion of passing the 10,000 Thunder Emperor Tribulation. However, after hearing Bai Xian's words, Chu Fengmian understood that this news was far more terrifying than he had imagined. The news of me passing the 10,000 Thunder Emperor Tribulation cannot be exposed. Chu Fengmian thought inwardly. He had passed the 10,000 Thunder Emperor Tribulation in the endless void. Therefore, no one would know. As long as Chu Fengmian didn't reveal it, he would be extremely safe. Moreover, Chu Fengmian was still in the Divine Force realm and hadn't reached the Life and Death realm. Therefore, even if there were suspicions, they wouldn't suspect Chu Fengmian. However, this gave Chu Fengmian a reminder. Right now, Chu Fengmian had more and more fortuitous encounters, but once they were exposed, it would be extremely troublesome. The Emperor Jar, Battle Dragon Art, Power of Fortune, and Chu Fengmian had passed the 10,000 Thunder Emperor Tribulation. If any of these were exposed, it would cause a commotion in the 9 regions. Chu Fengmian had to protect these secrets well. Actually, the time of your breakthrough was extremely close to the appearance of the 10,000 Thunder Emperor Tribulation. The moment Bai Xian spoke, she couldn't help but take a few more glances at Chu Fengmian. At that time, I still had some suspicions that the person was you. However, you had only broken through to the Divine Force realm and couldn't have attracted the Heavenly Tribulation. If you had broken through to the Life and Death realm at that time, I would have thought that the person would definitely be you. Although Bai Xian's words seemed to be a casual conversation, there seemed to be a faint probing hidden within them. Chu Fengmian sneered in his heart, but revealed a smile on his face. How is that possible? The 10,000 Thunder Emperor Tribulation? When I passed the Life and Death Great Tribulation, I was already very fortunate to attract the 100 Thunder Emperor Tribulation. The 10,000 Thunder Emperor tribulation isn't something that an ordinary martial artist like me can attract. You don't have to be so polite. Your aptitude isn't much lower than Han Yueli's. There's an extremely high possibility that you'll attract the 1,000 Thunder Emperor tribulation in the future. At that time, you'll also be nurtured by the Academy. Bai Xian smiled. Forget it. Let's not talk about this. You and I haven't even reached the limit of the Divine Force realm, let alone the life and death Great Tribulation. Let's go. If we continue chatting, they'll probably get impatient. The place we've agreed on is the periphery of the Void Ocean. Let's go over first. The Void Ocean. I can finally see its true appearance. Chu Fengmian's heart was filled with longing. He had long wanted to take a look at the legendary Void Ocean. Let's go. 2 streaks of light instantly disappeared from the North Sea Academy. Thanks, Champ's Elysians? A reward. Chapter 499. The Void Sea was not in the North Mang Academy. It was in a mysterious space in the vast North region. Ordinary people would not be able to find the way to enter the Void Sea. Fortunately, there was a map of the Void Sea in the Northern Mang Academy. With Bai Xian's guidance, the two of them flew in the northern region. After flying for a full day, they finally arrived at a calm wasteland. In this wasteland, the two of them broke through space and arrived at a completely different void. Who would have thought that the Void Sea, one of the most mysterious places in the North region, was hidden behind the seemingly calm wasteland? It was different from the ordinary Void Sea. The size of the space in the ordinary Void Sea was created by the martial artist's spiritual power. However, the Void Sea in front of them was so huge that they could not see the end of it. It was simply a space created by nature. The spatial turbulence was also much stronger. Without the strength of an ordinary peak saint, one would not be able to resist the spatial turbulence in the Void Sea. Only those whose strength had reached the peak saint realm could explore the Void Sea. The Void Sea is extremely dangerous. There are countless spatial turbulences. We must constantly use spiritual power to resist them from afar. Let's find a place to rest first. After arriving at the Void Sea, Bai Xian's expression became a lot more solemn. She looked around and then flew in a direction with Chu Fengmian. Although there were countless fortuitous encounters in the Void Sea, the dangers were far greater than the North region. Even a life and death realm expert could die if they were careless. Chu Fengmian followed Bai Xian and flew toward the Void Sea. Chu Fengmian was still new to this place, so it was better for him to follow Bai Xian. The two flew carefully in the Void Sea for a while. Then, a huge rock suddenly appeared in front of Chu Fengmian. There were many inns built on top of the rock. At a glance, there were at least 1,000 warriors on top of it. This is... Chu Fengmian asked in surprise. He hadn't expected that there would actually be an inn in this extremely dangerous Void Ocean, a place where one could rest. Inside, countless warriors were resting, eating, and drinking. There were even some shops for warriors to buy and sell. It was a bustling small city. This is one of the countless gathering places in the Void Ocean, Starry Sky Peak. This meteorite is a special product of the Void Ocean. It can withstand the turbulence in the Void Ocean. Some cultivators used this meteorite to build inns, tea houses, and even do business there. Bai Xian explained with a smile when she saw Chu Fengmian's surprised expression. Anyone who had never been to the Void Ocean would find it hard to believe that there was a place to rest in such a dangerous place. Bai Xian had also been surprised when she had first come here. The more dangerous the Void Ocean is, the more we need a place like this. We can rest and recuperate here to ensure our safety. Let's go over first. As Bai Xian spoke, she descended towards the Starry Sky Peak with Chu Fengmian following closely behind. Halt! As soon as he landed on Starry Sky Peak, two martial artists suddenly flew over. These two martial artists were much stronger than ordinary peak saint. At the very least, they were strong enough to contend with Tuoba Ding. In the Void Ocean, even the weakest existence had the strength of a peak saint. Bai Xian smiled casually when she saw the sudden appearance of the two warriors. Apparently, she was used to it. She moved her palm and handed over a golden fist-sized mystical item. This mystical item was called the Golden Sand Stone. Although it was only considered to be below average among the mystical items, it could be sold for millions of 9 cauldron pills outside. She did not expect that the simplest transaction in the Void Ocean would require a mystical item. The weakest martial artists in the Void Ocean are at the peak of the Saint Realm. Experts at the Life and Death Realm can be found everywhere. Even some high-level Life and Death Realm experts will appear in the Void Ocean. To such an expert, ordinary 9 cauldron pills are naturally meaningless. Thus, the simplest transaction is to rely on mystic items. Who doesn't have a few mystical items when they reach the peak Saint Realm? They can also exchange them for what they need. Bai Xian explained. Chu Fengmian nodded after hearing her explanation. It was his first time coming to the Void Ocean, so he did not know the countless rules here. Bai Xian's explanation made him understand a lot. Indeed, 9 cauldron pills were of no use to Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian was prepared to exchange them for other mystical items that were useful to him. So it's Miss Bai Xian from the Northern Sea Academy. The two venerables seemed to recognize Bai Xian and greeted her. The rules of the Starry Sky Peak are the same. The two of us are just following orders. Please don't take offense, Miss Bai Xian. Of course. I know the rules of the Starry Sky Peak. Here are 2 golden sandstones. Just take them as our fee. Bai Xian took out 2 golden sandstones and handed them over. At the same time, she whispered to Chu Fengmian. Junior brother Chu has just joined the Beimang Academy. I'll pay for it this time. The two venerables glanced at Chu Fengmian's unfamiliar face and sized up Chu Fengmian's realm. Their eyes flashed with disdain. He was courting death by coming to the Void Ocean with only the cultivation of the 4th level of the Divine Power Realm. However, he was brought by Bai Xian. As long as he paid the mystical item, it was fine even if he was an ordinary person without cultivation. However, if he died in the Void Ocean, it had nothing to do with the Starry Sky Peak. Senior Sister Bai Xian has helped me many times. I don't need to trouble Senior Sister Bai Xian this time. Chu Fengmian suddenly took out a piece of black metal and handed it to the two warriors before Bai Xian could. This is black mysterious gold. Its value has exceeded 2 golden sandstones. Just take it as our fee. Black mysterious gold. The two warriors were slightly surprised when they saw the piece of black metal that Chu Fengmian handed over. The value of the black mysterious gold was much higher than the golden sandstones. Moreover, compared to the golden sandstones, the black mysterious gold had a great advantage. It was versatile. Although many mystical items were extremely valuable, they weren't needed by everyone. Even if they were valuable, it was difficult to find a suitable buyer. However, the black mysterious gold could be added into the refining of countless spiritual weapons. Therefore, there was no need to worry about sales. In terms of value, it was definitely much higher than the golden sandstones. Chapter 500. Enough. One of the venerables saw the black profound gold and hastily took it. The black profound gold's value was equivalent to the expenses of 10 people. This time, the two of them could still earn quite a bit. One of the venerables hesitated for a moment, then suddenly took out an elite stone from his spatial ring and handed it over to Chu Fengmian. This stone was square in shape, about half the size of a fist. It was extremely neat and contained an extremely pure spiritual power. This is a mid-grade spirit stone. Consider it your extra money. The honorable martial artist said as he handed over the middle-grade spirit stone. Take it, Bai Xian quietly said from the side. Hearing Bai Xian's words, Chu Fengmian nodded. He took the mid-grade spirit stone and entered the Starry Sky Peak. There were many experts in the Starry Sky Peak. However, most of them gathered in small groups of 5 or 6 people. There weren't many lone wolves. Chu Fengmian was clear about this point. After all, the void ocean was incomparably dangerous. If one explored it alone, the chances of dying were extremely high. If one had a few companions, it would be easier to deal with the dangers. However, such companions had their pros and cons. Although they could resolve the danger, they were more often the source of the danger. Once they discovered a huge fortune, it was possible for them to kill each other. If one wanted to explore, it was best to find trustworthy people. I didn't expect you to have such wealth. Even I wouldn't be so extravagant as to take out the black profound gold as the expenses. Bai Xian looked at Chu Fengmian and said with a smile, "Those two are smart enough to take back your mid-grade spirit stone. However, they can still deduct a portion of your wealth. Before joining the academy, I had a fortuitous encounter," Chu Fengmian casually said, not wanting to explain. Chu Fengmian's wealth, even excluding the 9 cauldron pills, was far more than ordinary peak saints and even life and death expert. After all, Chu Fengmian controlled more than half of the wealth of the Qin Empire. He had even destroyed the Su family and obtained their wealth. He also had the wealth of the flower seizing venerable and dark ancient demon venerable. His wealth was simply overflowing with oil. He had countless rare items. This black profound gold was simply a drop in the bucket for him. He naturally wouldn't care about it. What Chu Fengmian cared about was the mid-grade spirit stone. It was very similar to the spirit stone he condensed from the Saint Mountain. However, when it came to the grade of the spiritual power, it was far inferior. The spiritual stone that Chu Fengmian condensed was many times purer than this middle-grade spiritual stone. This middle-grade spirit stone is? Chu Fengmian looked at Bai Xian and couldn't help but ask. Tuoba Ding had never explored the void ocean before, so Chu Fengmian could only ask Bai Xian about the void ocean. Was it? Is not is? Is not is? Is not was not was not is? Is not is? Was? New? For warriors like us who have reached the pinnacle of the saint realm, ordinary pills are no longer useful. Only this kind of spiritual stone is useful for our cultivation. The spirit stone in your hand is only a mid-grade spirit stone. Its value isn't high. With our strength, we can condense it with some time. There are also upper-grade spirit stones and supreme-grade spirit stones. According to the rules set by the experts in the North region, these spirit stones are cut into half a fist-size cubes as currency. Above supreme-grade spirit stones are king-grade, royal-grade, emperor-grade, and so on. This kind of high-grade spirit stone is not something we can condense. We can only obtain it from the countless treasures in the void ocean. Each of them is priceless. As Bai Xian spoke, she waved her hand and a sparkling and translucent spirit stone appeared in her hand. The spirit energy of this crystal-clear spirit stone was many times purer than that of the mid-grade spirit stone. This is a king-grade spirit stone I obtained by chance in an ancient cave abode. Back then, that spirit stone was cut apart and I only got this one. It's considered a pretty good treasure. I'm planning to save it for when I'm trying to break through to the limits of the divine force realm before the life and death calamity. As Bai Xian spoke, she didn't try to hide anything and explained everything in detail. Is this spirit stone a king-grade spirit stone? Chu Fengmian looked at the king-grade spirit stone and thought to himself. Suddenly, his mind moved and he took out a spirit stone the size of a fist. Then, what grade is this spirit stone? This spirit stone was one of the countless spirit stones that Chu Fengmian had condensed from the divine sky-devouring python using the sword essence in the holy spring. In terms of the purity of spiritual power, the spiritual power of this spiritual stone was not inferior to that of a king-grade spiritual stone. This is? Bai Xian was shocked when she saw the spirit stone in Chu Fengmian's hand. King-grade spirit stone. It's a very high-grade spirit stone among the king-grade spirit stones. It's only a step away from the royal-grade spirit stone. Where did you get it? It's such a big one. It's comparable to 2 standard spirit stones. Where did you get such a spirit stone? This kind of spirit stone can only be found in some ancient cave mansions. Bai Xian was very surprised. She had wandered in the void ocean several times and had only seen a king-grade spirit stone once. She could only get a small portion of it. The spirit stone that Chu Fengmian took out was twice as big as the one she had. Its spirit energy was also much purer. I found this royal-grade spirit stone in an ancient cave. How much is it worth? Chu Fengmian looked at Bai Xian and thought to himself. He could tell from Bai Xian's reaction. The value of this spirit stone must be very high. It could be used to make money. As long as one had enough wealth, one could buy many rare items. These spirit stones would be of great use to Chu Fengmian after he refined them. However, it would be better if he could buy some rare items that were suitable for him. With the support of an endless supply of rare items, Chu Fengmian's cultivation speed would be much faster than ordinary martial artists with his battle dragon skill. A king-grade spirit stone is enough to exchange for a lot of wealth. This spirit stone of yours is even bigger than 2 king-grade spirit stones. It's enough to exchange for a good rare item. Bai Xian was very envious when she spoke. I thought you wouldn't have much wealth since you just joined the North Sea Academy. I didn't expect you to have enough wealth to make me envious. Chapter 501. If senior sister Bai Xian likes it, I'll give this king-grade spirit stone to you. Chu Fengmian casually smiled and handed over the king-grade spirit stone. After all, he had devoured a lot of spirit qi in the spirit spring, so he had more than 2,000 such spirit stones. He didn't care about such a small piece. No need. This opportunity belongs to you. To be able to reach your current strength, who doesn't have many opportunities? I won't take your things. Bai Xian saw Chu Fengmian's action and casually smiled. Let's go. They should be here already. As she spoke, Bai Xian led Chu Fengmian to the biggest tea house on Star Sky Peak. Miss Bai Xian has arrived. As soon as they entered the tea house, they saw 2 young men sitting inside. Of the 2 young men, one had surging water qi around his body. He was clearly a martial artist who cultivated a water cultivation method. The other had a peerless sword intent. He was clearly a sword cultivator. The 2 were both at the 9th layer of the divine power realm. Their strength wasn't any weaker than Bai Xian's. In fact, the sword cultivator was even stronger than Bai Xian. In terms of strength, he was much stronger than a first-layer life and death realm martial artist. This kind of strength clearly came from a big force. This is Xikong Xian, a genius from the Xikong family, a huge martial artist family in the North region. He's extremely strong, above me. When Bai Xian saw the 2, she quietly explained to Chu Fengmian through sound transmission. This Xikong Xian was the sword cultivator. His sword intent had clearly reached an extremely high level. Xikong family's people. Chu Fengmian's eyes also revealed some seriousness. The Xikong family was also a well-known force in the North region. Although they weren't as famous as the North Sea Academy and were extremely low-key, their martial artists weren't weak. Among the martial artist families, Xikong family was ranked at the top. However, they had very few disciples, so they couldn't directly contend with the North Sea Academy. However, it was rumored that Xikong family also had high-level life and death realm expert. Therefore, the North Sea Academy wouldn't take the initiative to provoke Xikong family. This is Lin Mu, an inner disciple of our North Sea Academy. He's ranked 6th on the Earth ranking. Bai Xian sent a voice transmission to him once more. I was the one who discovered the ancient Yen Dragon Emperor cave abode with them. However, I'm not familiar with them, so you have to be careful. Bai Xian could not help but remind him. She had no enmity with Chu Fengmian. Moreover, Chu Fengmian had a clear personality. Bai Xian had always treated Chu Fengmian well, so Chu Fengmian would definitely not bite the hand that fed him. However, these 2 people were different. People like Chu Fengmian were in the minority after all. If they really encountered a great opportunity, the possibility of them falling out was extremely high. That was why Bai Xian was here to remind him. Between warriors there were very few true friends. Many of them were just using each other for benefit. Once they encountered benefits, they would fall apart again. Yes. Chu Fengmian nodded. Although he wouldn't bite the hand that fed him, Chu Fengmian was still aware of this precaution. He couldn't even completely trust Bai Xian, let alone these two. Bai Xian, is he the helper you called? The Beimang Academy's disciple, Lin Mu, looked at Chu Fengmian and snorted coldly. If I'm not wrong, this person should be the newcomer king this year. He's just an outer disciple of the 4th level of the divine power realm. It's already difficult for him to travel in the void ocean. Isn't bringing him to ancient Yen Dragon Emperor's cave abode the same as courting death? Lin Mu raised his brows and said, Ancient Yen Dragon Emperor's cave abode is incomparably dangerous. It's even more dangerous than the void ocean. Bai Xian, you've seen how dangerous it is. He'll just be a burden if we bring him there. Bai Xian listened to Lin Mu's words and said calmly, I naturally know about the dangers in ancient Yen Dragon Emperor's cave abode. This Chu Fengmian is a good helper. His strength is at least in the top 10 of the Earth ranking. Top 10 of the Earth ranking? Lin Mu's eyes were slightly shocked when he heard Bai Xian's words. He's only at the 4th level of the divine power realm. If he can become the newcomer king, his strength should be pretty good. However, it's not that easy to be in the top 10 of the Earth ranking. Are you joking? The top 10 of the Earth ranking were all influential figures in the inner sect. Many of them had to cultivate for dozens of years or even hundreds of years before they could climb to this position. People like Bai Xian and Lin Mu had to cultivate for dozens of years before they could step into the top 10 of the Earth ranking. Now, Chu Fengmian was a newcomer and Bai Xian said that he was in the top 10 of the Earth ranking. How could Lin Mu believe this? Brother Lin Mu is right. It's not that we don't trust Miss Bai Xian. It's just that a brat at the 4th level of the divine power realm wants to be on equal footing with us. It's indeed a joke. Xikong Xian also stood up and spoke in a cold voice. Strength isn't something that can be bragged about. You have to at least display your strength to be in the top 10 of the Earth ranking. Display my strength? Brother Xikong, you have to be careful. Chu Fengmian snorted when he heard Xikong Xian's words. Suddenly, he condensed the ancient battle dragon's blood essence and turned it into the battle dragon force. Rumble. In an instant, the battle dragon claw was condensed. However, the battle dragon claw was compressed by Chu Fengmian to the size of an arm. It was as though it had turned into his right hand. In an instant, it struck towards Xikong Xian. Sword. Facing the battle dragon claw, Xikong Xian coldly snorted. He suddenly pulled out his sword and slashed out. Bang! The two forces collided. For a moment they were evenly matched. Soon after, the power of the battle dragon claw slowly suppressed Xikong Xian's sword. The moment it suppressed Xikong Xian's sword, the power of the battle dragon claw was retracted by Chu Fengmian and completely dissipated. This sword only contains 30% of my strength. To be able to suppress 30% of my strength, your strength is at least in the top 20 of the Earth ranking. It's not impossible for you to be in the top 10 of the Earth ranking. Xikong Xian coldly said. This strength is barely enough for you to be on equal footing with us. Since Miss Bai Xian has chosen you, there's no need to doubt it. After speaking, Xikong Xian sat back down and continued to drink the tea on the table. Xikong Xian's words were extremely conceited. The meaning behind his words was that it would be easy for him to defeat Chu Fengmian if he used his full strength. He only reluctantly agreed because of Bai Xian's face. 30% of his strength? Barely enough? Hearing those words, Chu Fengmian sneered in his heart. The strength he displayed just now was not even 1/10 of his true strength. Today's 4th update. Everyone has urged me to write more chapters. Tomorrow I'll add more chapters. Chapter 502. If Chu Fengmian used his full strength, that palm strike was enough to kill Sikong Xian. However, an expert like Sikong Xian wouldn't be as simple as he appeared to be. Coming from a martial arts family, Chu Fengmian must have his own trump card. If Chu Fengmian really wanted to kill him, he would need to use some means. However, if Chu Fengmian really wanted to kill him, Sikong Xian would die. Since Brother Sikong said so, it's fine. Anyway, this person cultivates the Dragon Clan's martial skills. He might be useful in Dragon Emperor Yan's cave mansion. Lin Mu glanced at Bai Xian and said, "However, if this kid dies in Dragon Emperor Yan's cave, don't blame us for not saving him. Dragon Emperor Yan's cave is extremely dangerous. If we save him, he might drag us down with him. If he drags me down with him, I'll be the first to kill him." Lin Mu snorted coldly. His words were extremely arrogant. After saying that, Lin Mu sat back down and continued to drink his tea. "The helpers that you two called for aren't here yet?" Bai Xian swept her gaze around as she slowly opened her mouth to speak. Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling was discovered by Bai Xian, Lin Mu and Sikong Xian. Due to the various dangers and difficulties within, the three of them decided to each find another helper to help them. "The helpers I called are almost here. Miss Bai Xian, don't worry." Sikong Xian smiled and looked outside. He suddenly pointed outside and said, "Look! Ha ha ha, Miss Bai Xian, don't worry. I just encountered a void beast in the void ocean. It took me some time to kill it." A voice suddenly came from the sky and fell into the tea house. This was a man dressed in luxurious clothes. Every move he made gave off an immense pressure. Chu Fengmian felt that this man's strength was likely even stronger than Bai Xian, Sikong Xian and the others. "Young Master Yun? You actually came to the North region?" Seeing the man, Bai Xian's face was filled with astonishment. At the same time, Bai Xian secretly transmitted her voice to Chu Fengmian. "This is young Master Yun, a prince from the southern region imperial family. Although he sometimes comes to the north region, I didn't expect Sikong Xian to invite him here." When Bai Xian mentioned young Master Yun, there was a deep sense of fear in her tone. This young Master Yun's methods are vicious. You have to be careful, or else you might be used by him and be consigned to eternal damnation. "Oh!" Chu Fengmian sized up young Master Yun. This young Master Yun had a dignified appearance and always had a slight smile on his face, which made people feel good about him. However, Chu Fengmian detected a hint of viciousness in young Master Yun's eyes. No matter how well he hid it, Chu Fengmian could easily catch it. Obviously, young Master Yun was not a kind person. "It doesn't matter. Whoever dares to deal with me will die." Chu Fengmian coldly snorted and walked back to Bai Xian. "This time, Brother Yun was specially invited by me. Our Sikong clan has some ties with the southern region royal family. After Brother Yun heard about Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling, he was very interested and was invited here." Sikong Xian said with a smile. The southern region was different from the northern region. Although there were many countries in the northern region, the real powerhouses were the Northern Mang Academy and the Earth Demon sect. It could be said that the northern region was represented by the Northern Mang Academy. On the other hand, the entire southern region belonged to a country. Countless sects and forces within the southern region were controlled by the royal family of this country. Young Master Yun was born in the royal family of the southern region. However, there were thousands of young masters in the royal family of the southern region. Young Master Yun was just one of them. "Of course, I'm interested in exploring Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling." Hearing Bai Xian's question, young Master Yun smiled casually and glanced at Chu Fengmian. Then, he sat on the chair and continued to wait and drink his tea. "There's only one person left. Lin Mu, who did you invite? Why isn't he here yet?" Now that 5 people had arrived and only one person was left, Bai Xian could not help but ask. "Although Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling has not been discovered yet, it's still very dangerous if we continue to delay. Bai Xian, don't worry. You'll know when that person arrives. Lin Mu smiled and said. That's right. Bai Xian, you should change your impatience. Another figure suddenly descended from the sky. Chu Fengmian could actually detect a kind of chaotic energy from this figure. It was similar to the energy of the chaotic seed that Chu Fengmian had seen from Tuobading, but it was much stronger. Luo Chen, it's you? Bai Xian recognized the figure at a glance. Number 1 on the Earth ranking, Luo Chen. There was no need for Bai Xian to explain. The moment he heard the name, Chu Fengmian suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the person. Luo Chen was the number 1 inner disciple of the Northern Mang Academy, the number 1 on the Earth ranking. Luo Chen's strength was also at Divine Power Realm level 9. However, his strength was obviously higher than Bai Xian's. Especially the chaotic energy in his body, it was much harder to deal with. Luo Chen is from the Saint Party. You have to be careful. He might be targeting you. Bai Xian secretly transmitted her voice to Chu Fengmian. The leader of the Saint Party, Yi Tianjun, has always been chasing after Han Yueli. However, with your relationship with Han Yueli, you're Yi Tianjun's number 1 enemy. Luo Chen might target you in order to get on Yi Tianjun's good side. Oh! Chu Fengmian's eyes flickered. The moment he saw the chaotic energy in Luo Chen's body, Chu Fengmian guessed it. He secretly activated his spiritual consciousness and probed Luo Chen's body. There was a chaotic seed in the depths of Luo Chen's body. It was obviously given to him by Yi Tianjun. However, Luo Chen's position in the Saint Party was much higher than Tuobading's. Tuobading could only borrow a part of the chaotic energy. But now, Luo Chen seemed to have mastered the chaotic energy. With the chaotic seed in his body, Luo Chen could be considered as half a chaotic divine body. Luo Chen landed and greeted everyone present. Suddenly, when he looked at Chu Fengmian, his eyes began to flicker as if he was thinking of something. A murderous intent slowly emerged in Luo Chen's eyes. Since everyone is here, then let's get ready to set off. Sikong Xian looked at everyone and said, just as he stood up and was about to leave. Wait! Today's first update. Although it's late, it will definitely be completed. Chapter 503. Luo Chen suddenly spoke as he swept his gaze across the crowd. Suddenly, his gaze landed on Chu Fengmian. Luo Chen stretched out his hand and pointed at Chu Fengmian. Everyone here is a genius disciple from the same place. There's no harm in working together. But this person is just a piece of trash at the 4th level of the Divine Force realm. What qualifications does he have to be on equal footing with us to explore Dragon Emperor Yan's cave? Luo Chen looked at Chu Fengmian and said in disdain, Kid, I'll give you a chance today. I won't let you come here for nothing. Kneel down and serve me as your master. I'll bring you to explore Dragon Emperor Yan's cave. If you perform well, I'll give you some of the treasures. How about it? Hearing Luo Chen's words, everyone's face revealed a playful smile. Lin Mu and Bai Xian of the Beimang Academy were clear about the reason behind this. Especially Lin Mu, he seemed to have expected this. He was looking at Chu Fengmian with the attitude of watching a good show. Arrogant. Your master hasn't even said anything. You're just a dog and you dare to provoke me? Chu Fengmian's face turned cold. Since Luo Chen dared to provoke him, he wouldn't be afraid of anything. Chu Fengmian wasn't afraid of falling out. Not to mention a mere inner disciple, even if a seed disciple of the Beimang Academy came, Chu Fengmian wouldn't be afraid. Courting death? A mere outer disciple dares to resist in front of me? Luo Chen snorted and stood up. His aura was completely locked on Chu Fengmian. Suddenly, he clawed at Chu Fengmian. The grab contained an extremely dense amount of chaotic power. When the claw was unleashed, the heavens and earth turned into chaos. This chaotic energy instantly formed an incomparably huge cage. It swept towards Chu Fengmian, wanting to suppress Chu Fengmian completely. A mere outer disciple dares to contradict me. I'll punish you by sealing you in this chaos cage for 100 years. That's your punishment. Luo Chen's face revealed a mocking smile. His eyes looked as if Chu Fengmian was already in his grasp. Chaos cage. Luo Chen used his chaotic energy right from the start. It seems like they are planning to take him out in one go. With this person's strength, even if he's in the top 10 of the Earth board, it's meaningless. Luo Chen is ranked first on the Earth board. Suppressing him is a piece of cake. Lin Mu, young Master Yun, and Xikong Xian discussed among themselves and shook their heads. Luo Chen had used his full strength when he attacked. The chaos cage was extremely troublesome for the three of them to deal with. How could a brat at the 4th level of the Divine Force realm be able to contend against Luo Chen? Only Chu Fengmian was sneering. You want to suppress me with just a little bit of the power of chaos? What a joke. Even Yi Tianjun couldn't do it. You think you can? Even a small cage can be broken. Chu Fengmian coldly snorted. In the face of the pressure from the chaos cage, Chu Fengmian did not dodge. Instead, his feet moved and he directly charged forward. The battle dragon bloodline condensed in Chu Fengmian's body and turned into a battle dragon claw on his arm. Then, he struck out with the claw. Boom! Under Chu Fengmian's claw, the chaos cage was torn apart. Under the might of the battle dragon, the chaos cage was instantly torn apart. You dare to take action against me? You want to seal me for 100 years? All right, I'll take half of your blood essence. Let's see if you still dare to be arrogant in the future. After defeating the enemy with a single move, Chu Fengmian did not hesitate and moved once again. After the battle dragon claw tore apart the chaos cage, it struck out once again. It was aimed at Luo Chen's chest and suddenly clawed. This claw suddenly blasted out. In an instant, it hit Luo Chen's chest. A huge pressure firmly suppressed Luo Chen's body, leaving him with no way to escape. What martial technique is this? How exquisite! It's different from the ordinary Dragon Clan's martial technique. His claw is no different from a real dragon's. Xikong Xian looked at Chu Fengmian's claw and the contempt on his face was swept away. He was extremely shocked. It wasn't that martialists couldn't learn the Dragon Clan's martial technique. However, even if they learned it, they could only imitate it and it looked extremely clumsy. Only some martialists who possessed the true dragon bloodline could unleash the true power of the Dragon Clan's martial technique. However, it was only similar in appearance, but the intent was different. When Xikong Xian first saw Chu Fengmian's claw, he felt that it was a real Dragon Clan's martial technique. It didn't look like something a venerated martialist could unleash. Xikong Xian thought about it, but he couldn't figure out what martial technique Chu Fengmian's claw was. Only Chu Fengmian knew that the battle dragon claw wasn't a martial technique. It was created by Chu Fengmian himself. Chu Fengmian possessed the battle dragon bloodline and cultivated the battle dragon technique. In fact, he was no different from an ancient battle dragon. The battle dragon claw was a claw that Chu Fengmian casually unleashed using the instinct in his bloodline. However, the ancient battle dragon was incomparably powerful. They fought crazily and their battle experience was extremely strong. Even the instinct in their bloodline was more refined than countless martial technique. The battle dragon claw was simply the most perfect technique that suited Chu Fengmian. Rumble! The battle dragon claw had already forced Luo Chen into a desperate situation. Luo Chen also didn't expect that Chu Fengmian's strength would reach such a level that it could easily tear apart his chaotic cage. This caused him to be a little dazed for a moment. However, facing the threat of the battle dragon claw, he quickly regained his senses. At this critical moment, Luo Chen began to display his strength as the number 1 on the Earth ranking. Saint Seed's power. Chaotic heavens and earth. In Luo Chen's body, the power of the chaotic seed was directly stimulated. It caused the spiritual energy in his body to instantly rise crazily. Suddenly, countless chaotic energies burst out from Luo Chen's body. These energies were condensed into a single point and condensed on his fist. Chaotic Divine Fist. In a single punch, Luo Chen suddenly burst out. This attack was extremely ferocious. It contained an incomparable chaotic energy that caused others to feel as if they were going crazy. Saint's Seed. This is the unique secret technique of the Sacred Faction. Luo Chen has finally activated it. Seeing the change in Luo Chen's body, everyone present wasn't too surprised. The members of the Sacred Faction all had a unique secret technique that could activate the Saint's Seed and increase their strength. Naturally, they knew about it. Chapter 504. The power of the Sacred Seed is said to be able to raise one's cultivation by 2 levels. Luo Chen's strength is already above Chu Fengmian's. With the addition of the power of the Sacred Seed, Chu Fengmian will definitely lose. Luo Chen is definitely not a weakling to be able to become the first on the Earth ranking in the Beimang Academy's inner sect. Let's see. This kid is about to lose. The Chaotic Divine Fist is already extremely powerful. With the addition of the power of the Sacred Seed, defeating this kid will be a piece of cake. When the crowd saw Luo Chen's attack, especially the Chaotic Divine Fist, they could not help but frown. Even if they were to fight against Luo Chen, it wouldn't be easy for them to defend against the Chaotic Divine Fist. Chaotic Divine Fist? The Chaotic Divine Fist of the true Chaotic Divine Body is indeed extremely powerful. But with your side branch? Break it. Chu Fengmian looked at Luo Chen with disdain. Luo Chen's strength came from the Sacred Seed in his body. Although it was a shortcut that could increase one's strength in a short period of time. But in Chu Fengmian's opinion, it was an extremely stupid method. If it wasn't his own strength, no matter how strong he wouldn't be able to unleash his full potential. If Yi Tianjun was here, Chu Fengmian could only run away. But Luo Chen was nothing in Chu Fengmian's eyes. Battle Dragon Dance. Dragon Soaring Century. Roar! A dragon's roar resounded beside Chu Fengmian. Countless spiritual energies suddenly turned into true dragons and soared in the sky. Between the heavens and earth, there were soaring dragons. The power of the Chaotic Divine Fist was actually trembling under the soaring dragons. It seemed to be unable to resist and was easily neutralized. What? The Chaotic Divine Fist was neutralized just like that? Is he really a level 4 Divine Force realm martial artist? An outer sect disciple, a newcomer from the Beimang Academy, how is it possible? Bai Xian's eyes were filled with shock. She naturally guessed that Chu Fengmian's strength had reached a certain level, but she couldn't figure it out. Chu Fengmian's strength had actually surpassed Luo Chen. The Chaotic Divine Fist that Luo Chen had conjured using the Sacred Seed was his strongest move. However, it had been easily neutralized by Chu Fengmian. It did not seem to be affected at all. If you want to deal with me, let Yi Tianjun do it himself. You're just a lackey of Yi Tianjun. Today, I'll take half of your Saint Blood essence to teach you a lesson. Chu Fengmian abruptly gathered his spiritual energy and abruptly sent out a palm to grab Luo Chen. Both of you, please stop. 2 silhouettes suddenly flew out. Bai Xian and Lin Mu respectively blocked Chu Fengmian and Luo Chen. We're all disciples of the North Mang Academy. Let's not ruin our relationship because of a small argument. Besides, Dragon Emperor Yan's cave is more important. We can't fight among ourselves right now. As Bai Xian spoke, she secretly sent a voice transmission to Chu Fengmian. Dragon Emperor Yan Gu's cave abode is more important. Now is not the time to fall out with him. Yes. Hearing Bai Xian's words, Chu Fengmian's expression gradually calmed down. However, as long as Chu Fengmian wanted to kill Luo Chen, he had to kill him. Dragon Emperor Yan Gu's cave abode was more important. Chu Fengmian would kill him after he finished exploring it. I'll give you a few days to live. Chu Fengmian glanced at Luo Chen. The murderous intent in his eyes was chilling. Now, none of the people present dared to underestimate Chu Fengmian. Even Luo Chen was defeated by Chu Fengmian. Although most of them had a 50% chance of winning when they fought with Chu Fengmian, no one was willing to provoke such an enemy. It's getting late. Let's get ready to leave. Dragon Emperor Yen Gu's cave abode should not be snatched by others. Young Master Yun said with a smile. All right. The others nodded and agreed with young Master Yun's words. Now, no matter how great the grudge was, it could not be compared to Dragon Emperor Yen Gu's cave abode. Dragon Emperor Yen Gu was an invincible figure 50,000 years ago. Many people did not dare to imagine how many opportunities there would be in his cave abode. However, one thing was for sure. As long as they could get something from it, it would be a great opportunity. In front of such an opportunity, they could only stop. Chu Fengmian did the same. Compared to killing Luochen, the matter of Dragon Emperor Yen Gu's cave abode was more important. After everything was over, Chu Fengmian could find a chance to kill Luochen. Let's go. The 6 figures turned into streaks of light at the same time, leaving the tea house and flying into the void ocean. The area we are going to is one of the 3 forbidden areas of the void ocean, the disorderly burial sea. Although there are no extremely dangerous spatial storms, it is still extremely dangerous. There are many dangerous void beasts. Everyone, please be careful. Sikong Xian reminded them as they flew. Everyone nodded. They were well aware of the dangers of the void ocean. No one dared to be careless. As Chu Fengmian flew with the crowd, he learned more about the void ocean from Bai Xian. The first was the dangers of the void ocean. The void ocean was an extremely strange space. It seemed to be the end of the endless void. The most dangerous thing here was the void turbulence. Only a pinnacle saint could deal with the void turbulence. Therefore, martial artists below the peak saint realm were not qualified to enter the void ocean. However, the void turbulence was not dangerous for martial artists at Chu Fengmian's level. However, the void turbulence could very well cause spatial storms. The spatial storms were different from the ones in the ordinary void. The spatial storms in the void ocean were extremely terrifying. One move was enough to sweep 1,000 li or even 10,000 li. There was no way to avoid it. The powerful force was enough to suck in a life and death realm martial artist and tear them apart. This was the greatest danger in the void ocean. Fortunately, the disorderly burial sea that Chu Fengmian and the rest were heading to was relatively stable. There would not be a large spatial storm. However, as one of the 3 forbidden areas of the void ocean, the disorderly burial sea also had an extremely special danger. It was the void beast. Many of these void beasts were born from the depths of the void. They were creatures condensed from extremely pure spiritual power. Each void beast's strength was not inferior to an ordinary saint. Some of the stronger void beasts were enough to destroy high-level life and death realm experts. Chapter 505. In the void ocean, these void beasts were the true overlords. Countless martial artists who explored the void ocean had died at the hands of these void beasts. These void beasts fed on spiritual energy, and the essence blood of saints was the purest form of spiritual energy. Therefore, many void beasts would take the initiative to attack martial artists. The disorderly burial sea contained the densest number of cave mansions in the entire void ocean. Many of these cave mansions had been drawn into the void ocean from the boundless void. Eventually, they all gathered in the disorderly burial ocean. Many void beasts had obtained great benefits from it. Therefore, the void beasts in the disorderly burial ocean were all extraordinarily powerful. Among them, the most terrifying ones even had the strength of high levels of life and death realm. They were the overlords of the void ocean, and no one could contend against them. Encountering such overlords, Chu Fengmian could only turn around and flee. He simply had no ability to resist. Chu Fengmian opened his spiritual awareness and observed his surroundings. The void ocean was filled with dangers, and Chu Fengmian didn't dare to be careless. Although Chu Fengmian's spiritual awareness was far superior to ordinary people's, it could only cover a very small area in this incomparably vast void ocean. This is Chu Fengmian's spiritual awareness suddenly sensed a group of creatures flying over not far from him. This group of creatures seemed to be a type of bird. They could directly travel through the void ocean. Although they were living creatures, one could only feel a kind of extremely pure spiritual energy from them. A large group of void beasts has appeared ahead. Sikong Xian suddenly shouted. After observing for a moment, his face turned somewhat grave. It's the Void Thunderbirds. Void Thunderbirds, how many are there? Lin Mu's face also turned grave as he spoke. In the void ocean, void beasts were one of the biggest problems. Every year, countless geniuses who came to the void ocean died at the hands of these void beasts. The strength of many void beasts wasn't frightening at all. They were only at the 4th or 5th level of divine power realm. However, the number of void beasts had always been inexhaustible. Even a life and death expert wouldn't be able to stop them. Even a life and death realm expert would fall under the encirclement of tens of thousands of void beasts. The Void Thunderbird was a type of void beast that lived in group. An entire clan of 3,000 Void Thunderbirds. The strongest among them is at the 2nd level of life and death realm. Sikong Xian glanced at him, and his face turned serious. We have to be careful. We are already close to the edge of the void ocean, and there is no place to rest. Don't get injured. If you get injured, the blood will attract more void beasts, and it will be really dangerous. The void beasts would sense the presence of spiritual energy and would rush over from the void ocean. Just like how the smell of blood would attract sharks in the sea, the void beasts in the void ocean were like sharks attracted by the smell of blood. If he was injured, the consequences would be unimaginable. Kill. Let's fight with all our might. Let's form an alliance and resist together. Sikong Xian shouted loudly. He immediately drew his sword and rushed forward. The rest of the people followed closely behind and charged forward. Hiss. These Void Thunderbirds seemed to have sensed the presence of Chu Fengmian's group and were all in high spirits. For these void beasts, martial artists were their nourishment. After devouring the flesh and blood of martial artists, they would become stronger. The 3,000 Void Thunderbirds roared at the same time and rushed forward. Each Void Thunderbird's strength was only at the 8th level of divine power realm. For the people present, a casual sword strike could kill one of them. However, the 3,000 Void Thunderbirds were completely different. If they charged together, they would most likely fall if they were alone. Kill these void beasts, and we can get a lot of benefits. Bai Xian condensed her spiritual energy and rushed forward. She suddenly killed a Void Thunderbird with a palm strike. Instantly, the Void Thunderbird shattered into pieces. Chu Fengmian sensed that the dead Void Thunderbird's spiritual energy seemed to have merged with Bai Xian's body. This spiritual energy seemed to have caused Bai Xian's strength to improve slightly. Killing these nether beasts can also rob them of their spiritual power? This is a kind of balance of mutual hunting. Chu Fengmian thought to himself when he saw this scene. The void beasts could devour the flesh and blood of martial artists to increase their strength, but martial artists could also kill the void beasts to rob them of their spiritual energy. This is just right. I have now broken through the bottleneck. As long as I have enough spiritual energy, I can condense the blood of the ancient war dragon to increase my strength. Chu Fengmian's mind moved. After realizing this point, he rushed forward directly. He charged into the midst of the countless void lightning birds all by himself. What? Is this brat crazy? He dares to rush into a group of void beasts alone. This kid is courting death. Although the Void Thunderbirds aren't strong, there are 3,000 of them. He charged into the crowd alone and would be attacked by countless Void Thunderbirds at every moment. What a fool! Humph, there are stupid people who want to rob the power of the void beasts but end up courting death. I didn't expect this kid to be a fool. Let him die. Even if he attracts other void beasts, we will just leave. Everyone looked at Chu Fengmian's action and couldn't help but sneer. Especially Luo Chen, who had a grudge with Chu Fengmian. He began to curse Chu Fengmian in his heart, wanting him to die in this flock of void thunderbirds. Chu Fengmian rushed into the flock of void thunderbirds. Immediately, countless void thunderbirds attacked him. These void thunderbirds didn't know any profound martial skills. They only knew how to attack with brute force. In terms of strength, they were far inferior to martial artists. However, there were too many void thunderbirds. Countless attacks were launched at the same time. Ordinary life and death martial artists would find it hard to resist. War Dragon's might. Chu Fengmian coldly shouted. Suddenly, the War Dragon's might condensed beside him. The attacks of these void thunderbirds were clearly a lot slower under the War Dragon's might. Although these void thunderbirds were creatures born in the void ocean, they had beast spirit. The ancient War Dragon was the king of all beasts. Feeling the War Dragon's might, many of these void thunderbirds began to feel fear in their hearts. Their attacks weakened a lot. Soon after, Chu Fengmian waved his hand. Immediately, more than a dozen void thunderbirds around Chu Fengmian died in his hand. At the same time, the purest spiritual energy of these void thunderbirds fused into Chu Fengmian's body with a pull of his hand. After devouring the spiritual energy of these void thunderbirds, a drop of ancient war dragon's blood essence condensed in the ancient war dragon's shadow within Chu Fengmian's body. This caused Chu Fengmian's strength to increase by a bit. Chapter 506. Not bad. Killing these void beasts is indeed enough to bring me a lot of benefit. Chu Fengmian was delighted. After killing this flock of void thunderbirds, he could also seize a lot of spiritual energy to condense the ancient war dragon blood essence. Now, Chu Fengmian's strength had no bottleneck. As long as he had enough spiritual energy, Chu Fengmian could continuously condense the ancient war dragon blood essence to increase his strength. Die, all of you! Chu Fengmian laughed wildly in his heart. Others were afraid of falling into this flock of void beasts and being besieged. Chu Fengmian was not afraid. His war dragon bloodline firmly suppressed these void thunderbirds, making them unable to exert even 20 to 30% of their strength. In addition, Chu Fengmian had the divine pulse, so his spiritual energy was almost endless. Even in the void ocean, he could continuously absorb spiritual energy and attack with all his strength without consuming any spiritual energy. Not to mention 3,000 void thunderbirds, even if there were 30,000 or 300,000 of them, Chu Fengmian could devour them all if he had enough time. In Chu Fengmian's eyes, these void thunderbirds were like spiritual elixirs that contained countless pure spiritual energy. War Dragon's strength. Erupt. Chu Fengmian laughed continuously, urging his strength to the state he used to deal with Luo Chen. The terrifying war dragon aura intimidated countless void thunderbirds around him. Chu Fengmian urged the war dragon claw, and every time he waved it, it was enough to kill a dozen void thunderbirds. Chu Fengmian was in the flock of void thunderbirds, but he was like a wolf in a flock of sheep, crazily slaughtering them. One by one, he killed the void thunderbirds and devoured their spiritual energy. Why is there no movement after Chu Fengmian rushed into the flock of void thunderbirds? Could it be that he died? It doesn't matter if this trash dies, but don't drag us down. Luo Chen and Lin Mu discussed coldly when they saw Chu Fengmian rushing into the flock of void thunderbirds without causing any commotion. In their hearts, they wished that Chu Fengmian would die in the flock of void thunderbirds. Even if we encounter this flock of void thunderbirds, we can only kill them slowly. That brat rushed in recklessly, isn't he courting death? Luo Chen snorted coldly. However, before he could finish his sentence, a terrifying dragon might erupted from the flock of void thunderbirds. Chu Fengmian's body was like an ancient battle dragon, slaughtering wantonly. With a swipe of his hand, more than a dozen void thunderbirds died in Chu Fengmian's hand. They were crushed by Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian absorbed countless pure spiritual energies into his body, causing Chu Fengmian's strength to rise. What? Seeing this scene, Luo Chen's expression was extremely gloomy. He originally thought that even if Chu Fengmian didn't die, he would still suffer some hardships. It was just the right time for him to teach Chu Fengmian a lesson. But he didn't expect that Chu Fengmian would unleash his divine might as soon as he charged into the flock of void thunderbirds and began to massacre them all at once. It seemed that the flock of void thunderbirds was no match for Chu Fengmian at all. This person's bloodline is extremely effective against the void thunderbird. Young Master Yun glanced at Chu Fengmian and spoke slowly. It's no wonder that he's fearless. Under the suppression of his bloodline, the strength of these void thunderbirds is less than 20%. They're no longer a threat. Damn it. If this continues, those void thunderbirds will all be killed by this brat. Let's go. We can't let him take all the benefits alone. Luo Chen's face showed some reluctance. He roared loudly and rushed forward. Void beasts represented danger and opportunity. If all 3,000 void thunderbirds fell into Chu Fengmian's hands, Luo Chen would be extremely jealous. He moved his body and rushed towards the flock of void thunderbirds, slaughtering them to death. With the might of Chu Fengmian's battle dragon, it was extremely easy for him to slaughter them. Let's go too. Xikong Xian, young Master Yun and the others moved their bodies and joined in the slaughter. It seems that these people are also here to divide the spoils? Chu Fengmian snorted coldly. These people were taking advantage of the situation. However, before they went to Dragon Emperor Yen Gu, it was not the time to shed all pretense of cordiality. More than 1,500 void thunderbirds had died in Chu Fengmian's hands. Chu Fengmian had gained quite a lot of benefit. In Chu Fengmian's body, the power of the 1,500 void thunderbirds allowed him to condense more than 20 drops of ancient battle dragon blood essence. Every drop of ancient battle dragon blood essence was enough to improve Chu Fengmian's strength. The more ancient battle dragon blood essence he awakened, the more powerful Chu Fengmian became. In a short while, the flock of void thunderbirds was completely annihilated. The most powerful void thunderbird king was also killed under the joint efforts of the group. Xikong Xian stopped and looked at Chu Fengmian, praising him. Brother Chu, you do have some skills. If you can deal with the demonic beasts, it will be of great use in Dragon Emperor Yen Gu's cave dwelling. Hearing Xikong Xian's words, Chu Fengmian suddenly asked. There are also countless demonic beasts in Dragon Emperor Yen Gu's cave dwelling? That's right. Xikong Xian nodded and said. We've entered Dragon Emperor Yen Gu's cave dwelling once, but there were countless demonic beasts in it. Many of them are from the side branches of the true Dragon Clan. They possess the Dragon Clan's bloodline and are extremely difficult to deal with. Looking at Brother Chu's skills, it's obvious that your bloodline is extremely pure. It shouldn't be a problem for you to deal with a few demonic beasts that possess the Dragon Clan's bloodline. Xikong Xian said. Although his tone was polite, there was a hint of doubt in his tone. Chu Fengmian frowned slightly, then laughed out loud. Of course, it's not a problem. It's just a few demonic beasts. It's easy to deal with them. Sure enough, he's a piece of trash who had some fortuitous encounters. He couldn't even withstand such a little provocation. Hearing Chu Fengmian's reply, Luo Chen, Lin Mu and young Master Yun sneered in their hearts. It's good that they've provoked Chu Fengmian. When they enter Dragon Emperor Yen Gu's cave dwelling, they can use Chu Fengmian as a shield. Xikong Xian also laughed and said, Ha 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 ha, then I'm looking forward to Brother Chu's bravery. We'll have to rely on Brother Chu to deal with the void beasts. No worries. Chu Fengmian laughed out loud. Hearing Chu Fengmian's words, Xikong Xian felt even more disdain towards Chu Fengmian. So what if he's strong and possesses a special bloodline? Such a brainless person can only be manipulated by him. However, Xikong Xian's expression was extremely amiable. Brother Chu's heroic spirit is admirable. Let's go. We'll continue to the chaotic burial sea. Chapter 507. The group gradually approached the area of the disorderly burial sea. The number of void beasts they encountered increased. Chu Fengmian had volunteered to kill countless void beasts along the way. Sikong Xian sneered in his heart. These void beasts were difficult to deal with, although they could gain a lot of benefits from killing them. However, their goal this time was to head to Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling. Compared to the endless opportunities in Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling, this void beast was nothing. Originally, they were all conserving their spiritual energy and preparing to show off their skills in Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling. Encountering someone like Chu Fengmian who was willing to take the initiative to kill void beasts, they naturally flattered him in all sorts of ways. They wanted Chu Fengmian to continuously kill void beasts. Along the way, almost all the void beasts were killed by Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian looked very calm, but secretly, he pretended to swallow a lot of elixirs to recover his spiritual energy. However, the consumption of spiritual energy was not something that could be quickly replenished with elixirs. Obviously, it was a great burden on Chu Fengmian. In their opinion, Chu Fengmian was just putting up a strong front to maintain his reputation. However, only Chu Fengmian knew all of this. He had the divine pulse and endless spiritual energy. Even if he killed 10,000 void beasts, Chu Fengmian would not feel tired at all. Moreover, killing void beasts was enough to bring great benefits to Chu Fengmian. After devouring the void beast's spiritual energy and condensing the ancient battle dragon blood essence, Chu Fengmian had already condensed more than 100 drops of ancient battle dragon blood essence. Since these people wanted to scheme against Chu Fengmian would beat them at their own game. He pretended to be weak and waited until he entered Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling to show his true strength. There is another group of void white tigers ahead. There are about 200 to 300 of them. I wonder if Brother Chu can deal with them? Sikong Xian looked at the group of void white tigers and quietly asked Chu Fengmian. If Brother Chu can't deal with them alone, let's take a detour. These void white tigers are not easy to deal with. Brother Chu has already killed many void beasts. These void white tigers are not easy to deal with. Let's take a detour, Lin Mu purposely said. Although he said that he was trying to persuade Chu Fengmian, he was actually trying to provoke Chu Fengmian. Humph, it's just a few white void tigers. I'll go and kill them all now. Chu Fengmian purposely showed some anger on his face. His figure moved and rushed up. This caused these people to be overjoyed. Each of these void white tigers has the strength of a peak saint. It's extremely troublesome to kill them. This kid actually went in alone to kill them. How foolish. Luo Chen looked at Chu Fengmian and sneered. I'll use my spiritual energy here. Let's see if he has any energy left when we reach Dragon Emperor Yan Gu's cave residence. That's right, a foolish brat. Bringing him along will save us a lot of trouble. In any case, someone will help us deal with the void beast, so why not? Lin Mu sneered and said. He thought we were flattering him, but we were just using him. Once we reached Dragon Emperor Yan Gu's cave abode, we kicked him out. You can't say that. After all, he still has some use. We can let him deal with other demonic beasts. Young Master Yun's eyes flickered as he laughed. There are countless traps in Dragon Emperor Yan Gu's cave abode. We can use him as a shield to explore the trap. Bai Xian, where did you find such a fool? Sikong Xian looked at Bai Xian and sneered. I think your helper can't hold on any longer. Why don't you beg us to save him? Humph. Bai Xian's face was extremely cold after hearing Sikong Xian's words. She did not say a word. However, she was also incomparably worried in her heart. Those people were clearly targeting Chu Fengmian. She secretly transmitted her voice to Chu Fengmian, but Chu Fengmian told her not to do anything. She had no other choice but to wait at the side. While they were talking, Chu Fengmian had already rushed into the void white tigers. These people think that I'm just trying to save face. In fact, they don't expect that I have a divine pulse. My spiritual energy is simply endless. It doesn't matter how many void beasts I kill. Without these people fighting over me, the power of these void white tigers will all belong to me. Chu Fengmian was extremely excited. He gathered his spiritual energy and suddenly hit one of the void white tigers with a palm strike. Bang! The void white tiger's head was immediately pierced by the palm strike. Chu Fengmian devoured a large amount of its spiritual energy. Everything was done smoothly. Great! The spiritual energy of this void white tiger is enough to condense 1/10 of a drop of ancient war dragon blood essence. 10 void white tigers are enough to help me condense a complete drop of ancient war dragon blood essence. If I kill all of these void white tigers, I can condense at least a dozen drops of ancient war dragon blood essence. Chu Fengmian calculated in his heart and was ecstatic. The void ocean was indeed a good place. The void beasts that everyone feared and found troublesome were all nourishment for Chu Fengmian. Ordinary martial artists, no matter how strong they were, would not dare to kill void beasts in the void ocean. This was because it would consume a lot of spiritual energy to deal with a void beast. Even if they were to kill it, they would suffer a great loss. However, Chu Fengmian was different. He had divine pulse, and the spiritual energy that he consumed could be replenished at any time. Therefore, the void beasts were like elixirs and nourishment for Chu Fengmian. Kill them all! Chu Fengmian urged his spiritual energy to kill the void white tigers around him and absorb their energy. Chu Fengmian deliberately slowed down his speed when he was killing the void white tigers. He made it seem as if he did not have much strength and was struggling to hold on. Chu Fengmian also deliberately swallowed a lot of precious elixirs. It seemed as if he was recovering his spiritual energy, but in fact, he was refining them to condense the ancient war dragon blood essence. This kid is really holding on. He even took out the Shang energy recovery elixir. Sikong Xian looked at the elixir that Chu Fengmian swallowed and said with a smile, "This is really generous." He swallowed such precious elixirs just to deal with a few void white tigers. It seems like this kid has a lot of wealth in his hands. Luo Chen looked at Chu Fengmian and thought to himself, "When I enter Dragon Emperor Yan Gu's cave mansion, I must find a chance to kill him and seize his wealth and bloodline." After almost 2 hours, Chu Fengmian flew back slowly. Chapter 508. Thank you for your hard work, Brother Chu. Sikong Xian greeted Chu Fengmian with a smile when he saw him flying back. These white void tigers are not easy to deal with. Even if we attack together, I'm afraid we won't be able to kill all of them. It's nothing. Any demonic beast is nothing in front of me. Chu Fengmian laughed and pretended to be indifferent. However, the spiritual energy in Chu Fengmian's body was extremely unstable. It seemed like he was struggling to hold on because he had consumed too much spiritual energy. Of course, Chu Fengmian was pretending to be weak in order to numb Sikong Xian and the others. Once Chu Fengmian had consumed most of his spiritual energy, he wouldn't seem to be a threat anymore. When they arrived at Dragon Emperor Yan's cave mansion, Chu Fengmian would be able to show his prowess. Brother Chu is indeed powerful. I'm afraid that you'll be promoted to a seed disciple when you return to the North Sea Academy. Sikong Xian flattered him on purpose and said, "It seems like Brother Chu didn't use much energy. Let's continue our journey." Sikong Xian said so on purpose to not give Chu Fengmian any time to rest and recover his spiritual energy. Chu Fengmian pretended to be extremely embarrassed, but he still put on a strong front and spoke in a weak voice. "It's okay. Let's go now. Let's go." The others secretly transmitted their voices to each other as if they were discussing something. They looked at Chu Fengmian as if they were looking at a fool. The group continued to fly. After a while, there were many things in the surrounding void. Huge rocks appeared one after another. Among these rocks, there were many caves, but they were all extremely dilapidated. There was no longer any spiritual power in them. This is the disorderly burial sea. These rocks are the ancient caves that were discovered before. However, they have been explored by others. Sikong Xian said, "Let's continue." Dragon Emperor Yan's cave mansion is at the edge of the disorderly burial sea. The group continued to fly. Bai Xian glanced at Chu Fengmian and saw that he was pretending to be strong on the outside but weak on the inside. She quietly passed a pill to Chu Fengmian. These pills are enough to recover some of your spiritual energy. Dragon Emperor Yan's cave mansion is extremely dangerous. You should consume all of these pills. Oh! Chu Fengmian was surprised to see Bai Xian's reaction. He and Bai Xian were also in a cooperative relationship. However, Bai Xian didn't try to trick Chu Fengmian like Xikong Xian and the others. Instead, she gave Chu Fengmian medicinal pellet. It seemed that Bai Xian really wanted to work with Chu Fengmian to explore Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling. It's fine. Senior sister, you can keep these pills for yourself. Chu Fengmian also quietly transmitted his voice. At the same time, he secretly condensed a stream of spiritual energy and directly poured it into Bai Xian's body. Bai Xian could feel that Chu Fengmian's spiritual energy was extremely dense, as vast as a mountain range. It was extremely dense. Bai Xian exclaimed in shock. You still have such strength? You killed those void beasts without any effect? After killing so many heavenly void beasts, even if Bai Xian were to do it herself, she probably wouldn't have much strength left. Therefore, she never thought that Chu Fengmian's appearance was just a disguise. But now, the vigorous power in Chu Fengmian's body shocked her greatly. Chu Fengmian secretly transmitted his voice to Bai Xian and directly rejected the medicinal pellets Bai Xian handed over. I have some tricks up my sleeve. Listen to them first and wait until we reach Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling. Xikong Xian knew the most about Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling. Therefore, he was the leader. Chu Fengmian deliberately showed weakness to use Xikong Xian. When they really entered Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling, Xikong Xian would be useless. It wouldn't be too late for Chu Fengmian to deal with them then. These people must die. Chu Fengmian's killing intent was extremely strong. Those who dared to scheme against him must die. Seeing Chu Fengmian reject Bai Xian's medicinal pellets, the disdain in Xikong Xian's eyes deepened. Sure enough, he's a piece of trash who cares about face. He can't even hold on anymore, yet he's still forcing himself. It doesn't matter anyway. Let him lure those monstrous beasts. Chu Fengmian's actions were even more in line with his strong appearance. Xikong Xian purposely flew extremely fast, causing Chu Fengmian to gasp for breath. It was extremely difficult for him to keep up. Finally, after 6 hours, under Xikong Xian's lead, they suddenly arrived at the edge of the disorderly burial sea. There was nothing in front of them, only an endless void. Is Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling here? Seeing Xikong Xian stop, Chu Fengmian thought to himself. He opened his spiritual awareness and scanned the surroundings, but he didn't find any trace of Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling. While Chu Fengmian was thinking, Xikong Xian took a step forward. He muttered something silently. Chu Fengmian could tell that it was an extremely ancient language, but he couldn't understand it. Then, a huge door suddenly appeared in the void before them, tearing the surrounding space apart. Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling is really hidden to the extreme. I'm afraid that without a fortuitous encounter, it's impossible to find it. Chu Fengmian thought to himself when he saw the door appear. Although he could have killed Xikong Xian earlier, it was indeed useful to keep him alive. Without Xikong Xian's lead, even Chu Fengmian wouldn't be able to find Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling. This is Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling? The rumors are true. Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling is really hidden. Without a fortuitous encounter, it's impossible to open it. Young Master Yun, Lin Mu and the others were shocked when they saw the door appear. Everyone, let's go in first. Xikong Xian chuckled. He moved his feet and was the first to step into the door. Seeing that Xikong Xian was the first to enter, the others followed suit. Chu Fengmian stood in front of the door and used his spiritual awareness to check inside. After confirming that there wasn't any danger, Chu Fengmian was the last to enter. As soon as they entered Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling, they saw a completely different world in front of them. The various laws here were completely different from those in the Void Ocean. Dragon Emperor Yen Gu's cave abode was a small world, just like the Beimang Academy. People like Dragon Emperor Yen were indeed at the peak of the 9 domains. They were able to open up a small world like this in the void. Although this small world wasn't as big as the Beimang Academy, it was still huge and had dense forests. Chapter 509. Chu Fengmian scanned the forest with his spiritual awareness and discovered countless demonic beasts. At the center of the forest was a huge mountain peak. There was a huge door that contained a terrifying dragon aura. Dragon Emperor Yen Gu's cave should be on this mountain peak. However, if they wanted to approach the cave, they would have to deal with the countless demonic beasts below. These demonic beasts weren't weak existences. Chu Fengmian sensed that the strongest demonic beasts were at the 5th level of life and death realm. They far surpassed the martial artists present. Even Chu Fengmian would have a hard time dealing with them. Bai Xian secretly transmitted her voice to Chu Fengmian. The last time we entered, we encountered these demonic beasts. We could only retreat temporarily. Chu Fengmian nodded inwardly. He also sensed that these demonic beasts were vaguely guarding the mountain peak at the center of the forest. If they wanted to pass through the forest, these demonic beasts would definitely gang up on them. Everyone, Dragon Emperor Yen Gu's cave is at the center of the forest. However, before that, we have to deal with these demonic beasts. Sikong Xian said coldly. His eyes flickered. No one knew what he was scheming. Even if we fight with these demonic beasts, I'm afraid we won't be able to deal with them. Therefore, we need someone to lure them away. Sikong Xian's words silenced everyone. According to Sikong Xian, someone had to act as bait to lure these demonic beasts. Putting aside the danger of luring them away, who could guarantee that they could enter Dragon Emperor Yen Gu's cave after luring these demonic beasts away? It would be extremely difficult to survive these demonic beasts, let alone shake them off. Lin Mu suddenly said. Brother Sikong was the one who discovered Dragon Emperor Yen Gu's cave first. We will naturally listen to Brother Sikong's arrangements. Luo Chen chimed in from the side. I'm willing to. Young Master Yun nodded in agreement. That's right. Without Brother Sikong, we wouldn't be able to come here. We will follow Brother Sikong's arrangements. The three of them expressed their stance one after another. Although they sounded righteous, they were actually colluding with each other. This caused Bai Xian's expression to become extremely unsightly. Since these people had declared their stance, they were naturally on the same side as Sikong Xian. Sikong Xian would never let them lure the demonic beasts to their death. Only she and Chu Fengmian wanted to go. What? Bai Xian, Chu Fengmian, are you two not going to agree? Young Master Yun suddenly stood out and said righteously. It's all thanks to Brother Sikong that we were able to come to Dragon Emperor Yan's cave abode. Why are you kicking us to the curb now? You can't be heartless. Luo Chen chimed in from the side. What's more, we're only in charge of luring the demonic beasts away. Once we enter the cave, we'll naturally help you enter as well. That's right. Bai Xian, Chu Fengmian, listen to my arrangements. I won't let you suffer any losses. Sikong Xian said coldly. Vaguely, a wave of spiritual energy pressed down on him. How about it? Have you made up your mind? Bai Xian was so angry that her face turned red. She wanted to say something but was interrupted by Chu Fengmian. Both of us will follow your orders, Chu Fengmian said with a look of unwillingness. However, he seemed to be unable to resist the temptation of Dragon Emperor Yan's cave abode and decided to stay. Hearing Chu Fengmian's words, Sikong Xian said with a strange smile on his face. All right, I'll assign the tasks now. Later, Brother Yun and I will stay at the back to prevent any accidents. I'll be responsible for opening Dragon Emperor Yan's cave abode. Brother Lin and Brother Luo will be in charge of looking for any demonic beasts that have slipped through the net. As for luring the demonic beasts, I'll leave it to Bai Xian and Brother Chu. After all, Brother Chu has the bloodline of the real dragon. It shouldn't be a problem for him to deal with a few small demonic beasts. We'll enter the cave abode first. After Brother Chu has dealt with the demonic beasts, he can follow us in. Sikong Xian said righteously and seemed to be very fair. However, in reality, he had given the most dangerous task to Chu Fengmian and Bai Xian. As for them, they were going to pick up a ready-made opportunity to enter Dragon Emperor Yan's cave abode. Hearing Sikong Xian's words, Bai Xian's face turned red with anger. She did not expect to follow Sikong Xian here to use her as a bait. Even Chu Fengmian's heart was filled with killing intent. Sikong Xian had brought them to Dragon Emperor Yan's cave abode first before falling out with them. Even if they wanted to leave now, they had nowhere to go. If they wanted to leave alone, they would have to face the dangers of the disorderly burial sea alone. It was impossible to leave alive. Brother Sikong, you're a good schemer. Let the two of them enter Dragon Emperor Yan's cave abode first before dealing with them. Even if they leave now, only death awaits them. They can only follow Brother Sikong's arrangement. Young Master Yun sneered and transmitted his voice to Sikong Xian. I was wondering why Brother Sikong brought these two burdens. Turns out that you've already thought about it. Humph, that bitch Bai Xian. I've pursued her for a long time and she actually rejected me. Today, it's time to teach her a lesson. Sikong Xian said with a cold expression. As for that kid, his bloodline is a little special. It's just right for him to lure those demonic beasts away. The four of us together are not afraid that the two of them will not listen to us. Sikong Xian quietly transmitted his voice. He turned his head and looked at Chu Fengmian as he coldly spoke. Chu Fengmian, you go down first and see how many demonic beasts there are. Sikong Xian's words were practically an order. The moment he spoke, young Master Yun, Lin Mu, and Luo Chen channeled the spiritual energy in their bodies. Wave after wave of enormous power directly pressed down on them. The threat contained within was self-evident. Sikong Xian, don't go too far. Bai Xian could no longer bear it and roared in anger. We're here to cooperate with you. We're not here to be your slaves and work for you. What's wrong, Bai Xian? You dare to resist? Before Sikong Xian could speak, Lin Mu took the lead and snorted coldly. This arrangement is agreed upon by all of us. What's wrong? You're not convinced? Young Master Yun's face was also cold as he revealed a cold smile. Brother Sikong's arrangement naturally has his reasons. Since we're all here for Dragon Emperor Yan's cave abode, you'd better be obedient. Let's go. Under such coercion, Chu Fengmian seemed to be unable to resist. He could only move his body and fly towards the forest below with Bai Xian. Chapter 510. Chu Fengmian rushed into the forest with Bai Xian in tow. Suddenly, a series of beastly roars resounded. Countless demonic beasts suddenly emerged from the jungle and chased after Chu Fengmian. Golden Mark Godly Tiger. Green Eye Bird. Among the countless demonic beasts, the two most powerful ones were 5th-level life and death realm demonic beasts. Golden Mark Godly Tiger and Green Eye Bird were both ancient demonic beasts with noble bloodlines and formidable strength. There are actually 2 demonic beasts in this forest. We're no match for either of these 2 demonic beasts, said Lin Feng. Sikong Xian and young Master Yun said with lingering fear when they saw the 2 demonic beasts. Fortunately, the 2 of them went to lure the demonic beast. Once they're lured away, we'll be able to pass through the forest and enter Dragon Emperor Yan's cave. This Chu Fengmian is stupid. He actually went to his own death. But it's good. It saves us a lot of trouble. Seeing Chu Fengmian lure the countless demonic beasts, Luo Chen laughed in his heart. Being the bait of these demonic beasts will only lead to death sooner or later. Luo Chen thought coldly in his heart. It's a pity that I can't kill him with my own hands. But dying in the mouths of demonic beasts is enough. In the forest, Chu Fengmian and Bai Xian swaggered as they flew. Countless demonic beasts in the forest were startled awake and chased after them. Bai Xian turned her head. The moment she saw the two demonic beasts, her face turned deathly pale. Why did you agree to them? Even if we have to shed all pretense of cordiality, you don't have to listen to them and lure the demonic beasts. Bai Xian followed Chu Fengmian as she looked at the countless demonic beasts chasing after them. Damn it! These people are burning the bridge after crossing the river. They're using us as bait. They want to use me as bait? With their little scheme, how is that possible? Chu Fengmian sneered and said to Bai Xian, "Let's go. We'll hide from their sight and find a place. I'll naturally deal with them." As he spoke, Chu Fengmian's flying speed increased by a lot. In an instant, he lured all the monstrous beasts away. Sikong Xian and the others were no longer able to detect Chu Fengmian's figure. Sikong Xian looked at Chu Fengmian's flying speed and seemed to be slightly surprised. However, an extremely vicious expression soon appeared on his face. This kid does have some tricks up his sleeve. He can actually lure the beasts here. However, even if he manages to lure the beasts away, I will still kill him if he dares to enter Dragon Emperor Yan Gu's cave dwelling. After Sikong Xian finished speaking, he turned to the others. Let's go. While this kid is luring the beasts away, let's enter Dragon Emperor Yan's cave. All right. The other three also nodded their heads. A few streaks of light directly flew towards the center of the forest. It finally moved. Chu Fengmian's lips curled into a smile. His spiritual consciousness had been observing Sikong Xian and the other three. He was waiting for the moment when the four of them went to open the cave. Chu Fengmian sped up and shook off all the demonic beasts in an instant. All things transform into dragon, Chu Fengmian shouted in a low voice. His body suddenly began to transform into the appearance of a real dragon. This sudden change caused Bai Xian's face to be filled with astonishment. What? You're from the Dragon Clan? Bai Xian looked at Chu Fengmian in disbelief and said. Chu Fengmian's sudden transformation was very similar to that of the Dragon Clan. Especially the aura on Chu Fengmian's body, it was no different from that of the Dragon Clan. Chu Fengmian said. No, it's just some special secret technique. Conceal your aura. I will also transform your body to avoid the beast's pursuit. Bai Xian heard Chu Fengmian's words and hurriedly concealed her aura. Now that Chu Fengmian and she were in the same boat, she could only choose to believe in Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian said. He moved his palm and a drop of essence blood was shot out and merged into Bai Xian's body. Suddenly, Bai Xian's body began to transform into the appearance of a real dragon. What kind of secret technique is this? It can actually transform my body? Bai Xian looked at her body in shock. Her body had transformed into the appearance of a real dragon in an instant. There was no difference between her and a real dragon. The dragon's might was vivid and lifelike. There was no difference between her and a real dragon. All things transform into dragon can only be maintained for an hour, but it's enough. Chu Fengmian said calmly. Let's go. We can avoid the pursuit of the demonic beasts and go back directly. When Sikong Xian opens the cave, we will attack and kill them. Chu Fengmian's words were filled with endless killing intent. He had disguised himself for a long time to complete this plan. There was still a restriction in front of Dragon Emperor Yan Gu's cave. It should be only Sikong Xian who could break it. Therefore, Chu Fengmian deliberately put on such a show to make Sikong Xian and the others think that Chu Fengmian was dead. When Sikong Xian opened the cave, Chu Fengmian would attack, kill them and enter the cave. So, this is all part of your plan? Bai Xian was slightly stunned after hearing Chu Fengmian's words. She did not expect Chu Fengmian to be so calculative. He had planned everything from the beginning. Chu Fengmian harumphed coldly. That's right. Otherwise, why would I compromise with these trash and listen to their orders? I can kill these people as easily as killing pigs and dogs. Looks like you're more terrifying than Han Yueli, Bai Xian said slowly. This Sikong Xian actually schemed against you. What a fool. It's wise of me to choose to cooperate with you. Bai Xian's words were filled with killing intent when she mentioned Sikong Xian. Let's go and have a look, Chu Fengmian said. His figure moved and he and Bai Xian flew towards Dragon Emperor Yan Gu's cave in the middle of the forest like two real dragons. Sikong Xian and the others had already passed through the forest and arrived at Dragon Emperor Yan Gu's cave. Most of the demonic beasts in the forest had been lured away by Chu Fengmian. The remaining ones were easily killed by them. Most of the demonic beasts in the surroundings have been lured away. The remaining weak ones are not even at the life and death realm. There's nothing to be afraid of. Young Master Yun swept his gaze over the forest and said with a smile, Today's 5 chapters, plus one more. Chapter 5:11. All right, now that there are no beasts guarding us, let's open the cave and enter. Sikong Xian scanned his surroundings and made a prompt decision. He immediately faced the entrance of Dragon Emperor Yan's cave and started chanting. The ancient voice contained endless secret. Even Chu Fengmian could not understand the secrets of the language. Roar! A dragon's roar suddenly echoed. As Sikong Xian was chanting, a real dragon appeared abruptly. Following the dragon's roar, the forbidding aura in front of Dragon Emperor Yan's cave was completely shattered, and the entrance slowly opened. Behind the entrance there was an extremely deep abyss. Chu Fengmian could feel the blood in his body boiling the moment the entrance was opened. It was as if there was something inside that was attracting Chu Fengmian, causing his blood to boil. What exactly is inside Dragon Emperor Yan's cave? Why is my bloodline so thirsty for it? Chu Fengmian's heart shuddered. He was extremely shocked. His battle dragon bloodline was not interested in most of the rare items in the world. Only rare items like the dragon pill and the heavenly origin godly pill could slightly arouse his desire. However, as the entrance was opened, Chu Fengmian could feel the thirst of his bloodline. There must be something inside Dragon Emperor Yan's cave that was extremely useful to Chu Fengmian's bloodline. That was why Chu Fengmian's bloodline was so thirsty for it. They're going in. Let's go. Chu Fengmian's figure moved and concealed himself as he approached the entrance. Sikong Xian's face was filled with joy as he opened the entrance of the cave. Let's go in. Saying this, Sikong Xian's figure moved and was about to step into the cave. However, as soon as Sikong Xian's foot moved, a giant figure suddenly appeared. Chu Fengmian's figure had silently approached the 4 of them. As soon as the cave was opened, Chu Fengmian suddenly appeared. The ancient battle dragon's blood essence was completely condensed. Boom! A giant claw of the battle dragon suddenly descended from the sky. It was as if a real dragon had suddenly appeared and lashed out with its claw. Chu Fengmian didn't hold back at all in this claw attack. It was simply his full strength. Even a life and death realm martial artist would be killed instantly. What happened? Where did this attack come from? Dragon Clan martial technique. Sikong Xian and young Master Yun were the first to react. Facing the battle dragon's claw, their spiritual energy erupted abruptly. With the 2 of them working together, they gathered their spiritual energy and suddenly formed a huge formation around them, completely enveloping the 4 of them. The remaining 2, Lin Mu and Luo Chun, were stunned for a moment, but they quickly reacted and inserted their qi into the formation. The 4 of them combined their strength and activated the formation, encapsulating them within it. Let's stop him first. Let's hurry into the cave. Sikong Xian shouted as he defended himself. However, in the next moment, a mocking voice suddenly sounded. You want to stop me with a mere formation? Break for me. All of a sudden, Chu Fengmian's figure recovered and returned to his original appearance. His disheveled appearance was swept away and a cold smile appeared on his face. Chu Fengmian gathered his energy and waved his hand. The battle dragon's claw descended once again. Rumble. Under a huge rumble, the formation that the 4 of them had gathered their spiritual energy together suddenly cracked under the bombardment of the battle dragon's claw. It turned into countless cracks. In the next moment, it completely exploded, turning into balls of spiritual energy and completely shattering. What? Chu Fengmian, it's you? Sikong Xian retreated a few steps, some blood flowing out from the corner of his mouth. He looked at Chu Fengmian with eyes full of disbelief. You're not dead. How did you escape from the hands of the demonic beast? No, you're not injured at all. Sikong Xian saw Chu Fengmian's sudden appearance as if he had seen a ghost. Originally, when Chu Fengmian went to lure the demonic beast away, his aura had disappeared. In his opinion, Chu Fengmian must have died in the hands of the demonic beast. However, Chu Fengmian's sudden appearance and claw actually broke the formation that the four of them had set up together. He didn't look like he was injured at all. Sikong Xian had schemed for a long time to play a small character like Chu Fengmian in the palm of his hand. However, he didn't expect this small character to completely destroy his plan. Die. Do you really think that your little scheme can hide from my eyes? Chu Fengmian looked at Sikong Xian as if he was looking at a dead person. I'm just luring the demonic beast away on purpose so that you can open the cave dwelling's restriction. Now that the cave dwelling has been opened, there's no point for you to continue living. Chu Fengmian suddenly opened his mouth. Today, all four of you must die. As he spoke, the aura on Chu Fengmian's body was already rising steadily. He didn't need to hide anything now. The power of the battle dragon technique was pushed to the extreme. This was the first time he was ready to show his true strength after breaking through to the divine power realm. Arrogant and conceited brat, do you think you can overturn the heavens by hiding some of your strength? Young Master Yun looked at Chu Fengmian and sneered. Today there are four of us, and you're alone. You're just courting death by appearing rashly. Sikong Xian's face also revealed a mocking expression. Chu Fengmian, if you continued to hide and secretly followed us into Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling, we might not have been able to do anything. However, you're so stupid today. You actually swaggered in. Do you really think you can defeat us? Now that you've come out, you're just courting death. Lin Mu and Luo Chen's faces also revealed a smile. So what if he hid his strength? So what if he saw through their scheme? 1 against 4, even if some life and death experts came, they would still die in the hands of the four of them. Luo Chen, in particular, laughed out loud. Chu Fengmian, I thought you died in the mouth of the demonic beast. I didn't expect you to survive. Just as well, I won't kill you personally. It's really hard to resolve the hatred in my heart. I'll kill you. I'll chop off your head and send it to Yi Tianjun. Yi Tianjun will definitely reward me. Don't talk nonsense with this person. Let's deal with him first, then we can explore Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling. Sikong Xian let out a long roar and suddenly pulled out the long sword in his hand. The sword's edge was sharp as it suddenly pierced towards Chu Fengmian. Thank you for the reward from the Kitchen Knife Gang's leader. Chapter 512. Sikong Xian unsheathed his sword, and a sword light as thick as a person emerged. Suddenly, it slashed towards Chu Fengmian. The Sikong family was originally a martial arts family that specialized in the way of the sword. His bloodline contained this extremely powerful sword intent. Not to mention, Sikong Xian was originally a genius, and his comprehension of sword Dao was extremely deep. Chu Fengmian sensed that within this sword light, there were no less than 1,000 sword lights converging together. A single sword contained the power of 1,000 sword lights, and a terrifying sword intent of 1,000 sword lights. Chu Fengmian, you're very smart. You can even hide from my plan, but you're still too stupid. With your strength, so what if you see through my plan? Today you'll still die. Sikong Xian laughed loudly. The terrifying sword light suddenly attacked Chu Fengmian along with his sword light. Beside Chu Fengmian, Bai Xian also rushed over. Seeing Sikong Xian's attack, her expression became extremely solemn, and she warned. Be careful. Sikong Xian's sword Dao is famous in the vast northern region. His sword intent has reached the level of 1,000 sword lights. Bai Xian? You really didn't die. Seeing Bai Xian's appearance, Sikong Xian wasn't surprised at all. He suddenly laughed loudly. At first, I thought it would be a pity if you died in the hands of demonic beasts. You'd better come and be my woman. Today I'll kill this kid first, and after the rice is cooked, I'll take you on the spot. Let's see how you resist. Sikong Xian laughed as the sword light slashed towards Chu Fengmian. You think you're qualified to play with swords in front of me? Chu Fengmian looked at the moment Sikong Xian attacked, and a disdainful smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. You dare to be presumptuous with a mere final sword art? Die. Chu Fengmian's voice hadn't faded away when his hand slowly moved. He extended a finger and directly pointed at Sikong Xian's sword light. Is this kid crazy? Ha 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 ha, it seems like this kid is completely crazy. He wants to catch Sikong Xian's sword with his bare hands? Even a life and death expert wouldn't dare to be so arrogant. Luo Chun, Lin Mu, and the others were watching from the side, watching Chu Fengmian's actions. They wanted to laugh themselves to death. Catching a sword with one's bare hands was an extremely crazy thing to do, not to mention that this was Sikong Xian's sword. Sikong Xian's sword Dao was famous in the North region. He was definitely not an ordinary person. Even life and death experts would have to face his sword with all their strength. But now, Chu Fengmian was actually stretching out a single finger to resist this terrifying sword edge. It was simply laughable. Even Sikong Xian himself was shocked. Then, a mocking smile appeared on his face. He looked at Chu Fengmian with a gaze that said, "You're courting death." However, in the next moment, when the finger collided with the sword edge, the terrifying sword edge didn't tear Chu Fengmian apart as Sikong Xian had imagined. Instead, the two forces collided. Bang! With a clear and crisp sound. Sikong Xian's sword was actually broken. Countless cracks appeared, and in the next moment they all shattered. Everyone present was dumbfounded. No one would have thought that the result would actually be like this. Sikong Xian's sword edge was as thick as a person and contained the power of 1,000 sword edges. It was such a terrifying sword strike. It was actually broken by Chu Fengmian's finger, with a light tap of his finger. Even Bai Xian, who was beside Chu Fengmian, was stunned. Previously, when Chu Fengmian said that killing Sikong Xian and the others would be as easy as slaughtering pigs and dogs, she still didn't believe it. Which of the 4 people present wasn't a little famous genius expert? They were somewhat famous in the North region. But now, when she saw Chu Fengmian actually break Sikong Xian's sword edge with a single finger, she was completely stunned. This kind of strength had already exceeded her understanding. This is impossible! Sikong Xian roared crazily. His face was already filled with madness. He was the clearest about his sword Dao. Sikong family itself was a martial arts family. It could be said that anyone in Sikong family was an expert in sword Dao. And he was a well-known figure in Sikong family, a genius of Sikong family. His sword Dao, in the eyes of many life and death experts, had already reached an unfathomable level. Even life and death experts couldn't easily resist it. His sword Dao represented his dignity and pride. But now, his dignity and pride were completely trampled under Chu Fengmian's finger. You think you deserve to be called a sword cultivator? In front of me, no one dares to play with the sword. Chu Fengmian took a large step forward and called out in his mind. The scarlet flame sword suddenly appeared in his hand. I should let you experience what a true sword Dao is. The moment Chu Fengmian opened his mouth, his temperament completely changed. A sharp sword intent revolved around Chu Fengmian's body and condensed at the tip of his sword. One sword 10,000 layers. The sword in Chu Fengmian's hand slowly moved. This sword seemed slow. However, the entire surrounding space was suddenly filled with countless terrifying sword edges under this one sword strike. The entire space seemed to have turned into a world of swords. What kind of sword intent is this? How can it be so powerful? Xikong Xian looked at Chu Fengmian's sword intent and was about to go crazy. His eyes were wide open, not daring to believe his own eyes. This sword intent far surpassed his. In this vast north region, he had never heard of anyone with such a sword intent. Gotcha! The sword in Xikong Xian's hand was directly destroyed by Chu Fengmian's sword edge. The enormous sword intent swept down, wanting to defeat Xikong Xian. Not good. This person's sword intent is even stronger than Brother Xikong's. Let's attack together and lend Brother Xikong a hand. So what if his sword Dao is powerful? He's only at the 4th level of Divine Power Realm. I don't believe that a brat at the 4th level of Divine Power Realm can fight against the 4 of us. Young Master Yun, Luo Chen, and Lin Mu attacked at the same time. Young Master Yun's attack was extremely mysterious. Suddenly, he took out a fan. The moment he waved the fan, the spiritual energy of the 5 elements condensed. The 5 elements combined and complemented each other. It was like Tuoba Ding's 5 wheels secret skill, but it was much more mysterious than the 5 wheels secret skill. It turned into a powerful martial technique and attacked Chu Fengmian. At the same time, Luo Chen and Lin Mu also attacked. On Luo Chen's body, the power of the saint seed in his body was pushed to the extreme. Streaks of chaotic divine power condensed into a chaotic divine fist and attacked Chu Fengmian. Lin Mu also waved his hand and condensed countless water vapor into a water spear. The water vapor that he condensed was much harder than steel. The 4 of us are all geniuses. I don't believe that you can fight against the 4 of us alone. Chapter 5:13. The remaining 3 people on the scene attacked at the same time. In order to deal with Chu Fengmian, the 3 of them had already abandoned their pride as geniuses and joined hands to deal with him. The power of countless martial skills gathered together. The terrifying power was enough to drown and crush any expert. Not good. Retreat. Let's avoid them first. Bai Xian said with a pale face. The power of 3 geniuses joining hands was simply earth-shattering. No one could face it head-on. Retreat. The corner of Chu Fengmian's mouth curled into a cold smile. Why should I retreat? I've said it before. If I want to kill these 4, it'll be as easy as slaughtering chickens and dogs. A bunch of ants trying to overturn the heavens by joining hands? As Chu Fengmian spoke, his body moved. He didn't dodge, and with a slight movement of his feet, he took a step forward with his sword in hand. Slaughter sword Dao. Slaughter God descends. Behind Chu Fengmian, boundless killing intent suddenly condensed, turning into an ancient slaughter god that suddenly descended. The moment this ancient slaughter god descended, the terrifying blood qi contained within also condensed on Chu Fengmian's sword. In an instant, the slaughter sword had already been slashed out. A 10,000 zhang long blood scar exploded in the sky. Under the boundless blood qi, the martial skills of the 3 were almost devoured. Not a single power could escape the devouring of the blood qi. Within the boundless blood qi, Chu Fengmian was like an invincible existence. Boom! A huge wave of spiritual power collided and clashed. The 3 were defeated in an instant. Young Master Yun, Lin Mu, and Luo Chen were sent flying at almost the same time. Lin Mu and Luo Chen fell to the ground, their blood qi exploding as they died on the spot. This is impossible. Young Master Yun was the only one who could barely stand. His eyes were filled with disbelief. The 3 of them were defeated even after joining hands. Only experts at the 4th or 5th level of life and death realm could do this. Now, Chu Fengmian was only at the 4th level of divine power realm. How could he believe this? Chu Fengmian's strength seemed to have taken a qualitative leap after breaking through the divine power realm. Divine power realm geniuses, no matter how monstrous they were no different from pigs and dogs in Chu Fengmian's eyes. With a thought, Chu Fengmian's blood qi was directly devoured by Luo Chen and Lin Mu. Although the two were only at the 9th level of Divine Power Realm, their blood chi wasn't any weaker than a 2nd or 3rd level Life and Death Realm expert. After all, they were all geniuses. It was unknown how many fortuitous encounters they had encountered. These encounters had all been left in their power. Now, with the blood chi and Luochen and Luochens. These two people died just like that. Bai Xian, who was watching from the side, could not believe what she was seeing. Both Lin Mu and Luo Chen were influential figures in the inner court of the Northern Mang Academy. In the future, they would definitely become seed disciples. Yet, he was killed by Chu Fengmian's sword just like that. With Luo. These people dared to scheme against me. Their deaths are predestined, Chu Fengmian said coldly. His gaze shifted to young Master Yun. Young Master Yun was actually able to resist Chu Fengmian's sword. This made Chu Fengmian a little surprised. Chu Fengmian looked at young Master Yun. He could tell that young Master Yun wasn't able to resist the power of the sword because of his strength. Instead, it was because the majority of the sword's power was blocked by the 5-colored feather fan in young Master Yun's hand. This feather fan is pretty good. It's refined from the feather of the divine sparrow. It's a bit of a waste to leave it in your hands. Take it. Chu Fengmian looked at young Master Yun. Suddenly, he waved his hand and grabbed the feather fan in young Master Yun's hand. Divine feather. Young Master Yun saw Chu Fengmian's big hand breaking through the air and grabbing at the fan. Young Master Yun retreated continuously and fanned the divine sparrow feather fan. Immediately, the 5 elemental spiritual energy condensed and struck at Chu Fengmian's palm. However, these countless martial skills were actually unable to leave the slightest trace of injury on Chu Fengmian's hand when they struck it. Chu Fengmian's spiritual energy moved. With a shake of his hand, the 5 elemental spiritual energy on the fan dissipated completely. At the same time, Chu Fengmian's hand reached for the divine sparrow feather fan. Damn it! Young Master Yun held the divine sparrow feather fan tightly and frantically resisted Chu Fengmian's power. The divine sparrow feather fan was his only trump card against Chu Fengmian. He relied on the divine sparrow feather fan to resist the sword. If he lost the divine sparrow feather fan, he would lose all qualifications to fight against Chu Fengmian. Give it to me. Chu Fengmian snorted coldly and increased the power in his hand. Under this power, young Master Yun couldn't resist at all. The divine sparrow feather fan flew out of young Master Yun's hand and into Chu Fengmian's hand. Not bad. This divine sparrow feather fan is the most powerful spiritual artifact below the heaven grade. Chu Fengmian sized up the divine sparrow feather fan and tossed it to Bai Xian. With your strength, you still lack a suitable weapon. This divine sparrow feather fan is for you. For me. Bai Xian caught the divine sparrow feather fan and was slightly taken aback. She had heard of the divine sparrow feather fan before. It was one of the most precious treasures of the Xikong family. Xikong Xian was the cream of the crop among the younger generation of the Xikong family. That was why the Xikong family gave him the divine sparrow feather fan to protect himself. She didn't expect Chu Fengmian to give it to her. Take this divine vermilion feather fan as repayment for the 10,000 contribution points I owe you. Chu Fengmian looked at Bai Xian and said with a smile. Although the divine sparrow feather fan was good, Chu Fengmian had the emperor jar and the abundant lush monument. Even Chu Fengmian's scarlet flame sword wasn't inferior to the divine sparrow feather fan. There was no point for Chu Fengmian to keep it. Chu Fengmian wasn't someone who liked to owe others favors. He might as well give it to Bai Xian. Lending these 10,000 merit points to you is a great bargain for me. Bai Xian had been through countless trials and tribulations. When she heard Chu Fengmian's words, she naturally understood that Chu Fengmian didn't want to owe her a favor. She immediately put the divine sparrow feather fan away. The divine sparrow feather fan might not even be worth 100,000 merit points in the North Sea Academy. Giving it to Bai Xian would be enough to increase her strength by leaps and bounds. While Chu Fengmian was talking, young Master Yun secretly swallowed a pill to recover his spirit power. He suddenly rose to his feet and transformed into a streak of light, planning to escape. Chapter 5:14. Trying to escape? Chu Fengmian snorted. With a wave of his hand, he tore through the air and grabbed at young Master Yun. Young Master Yun's little trick could not escape Chu Fengmian's eyes. Today, all 4 of you will die. No one will leave this place alive. Chu Fengmian made a grabbing motion in the air, and young Master Yun was pinched in his palm. Let me go. You dare to kill me? I am from the Southern Region Imperial Family. Our Southern Region Imperial Family has countless experts. If you dare to kill me, the experts of the Southern Region Imperial Family will find you and kill you to avenge me. Young Master Yun roared. If you dare to kill me, you will die too. You will die with me. Oh no. Bai Xian's face stiffened when she heard young Master Yun's words. Young Master Yun has a strong background. If we kill him today, we will be hunted down by the Southern Region Imperial Family. What should we do? Bai Xian's face showed that she was in a difficult position. Lin Mu and Luo Chen were both disciples of the Northern Sea Academy. However, they were not the disciples of the elders. If they died, they would die. No one would spend the effort to calculate how they died. However, young Master Yun was different. He was a disciple of the Southern Region Imperial Family. If they killed him, the Southern Region Imperial Family would be enraged. The Southern Region Imperial Family's power was comparable to that of the Northern Sea Academy. If Chu Fengmian really killed young Master Yun, the experts of the Southern Region Imperial Family would find out. Both Chu Fengmian and Bai Xian would be hunted down by the Southern Region Imperial Family. However, even if they let young Master Yun go, they would have a grudge against him. Even if he released young Master Yun with his character, he would not let the matter rest. This sudden conundrum left Bai Xian at a loss for what to do. Ha 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 ha, Chu Fengmian, Bai Xian, the 2 of you don't dare to kill me, right? If you do, both of you will die with me. Hearing Bai Xian's words and her troubled expression, young Master Yun suddenly became arrogant and laughed loudly. If you dare to kill me, you will die even if you hide in the Northern Sea Academy. Even if you run to the ends of the earth, you will still be hunted down. Let me go now. Kneel down and be my slaves. Maybe I'll be in a good mood and spare you. How about that? Kill me if you can. Young Master Yun's arrogance flared up. Just as he opened his mouth to speak, his voice suddenly disappeared. Idiot! Chu Fengmian snorted coldly. With a thought, young Master Yun was crushed to death in his hands. Chu Fengmian devoured countless drops of blood essence and merged them with the ancient god of slaughter behind him. Chu Fengmian, seeing Chu Fengmian squash young Master Yun to death, Bai Xian was shocked and broke out in cold sweat. She did not want to die. Being hunted down by the Southern Region royal family was no different from dying. It doesn't matter. If we kill him, so be it. Even if we don't kill him, he will still find people to hunt us down. Chu Fengmian's expression was calm as usual. What's more, even if we kill him, no one will be able to find out. I have a way to deal with them. In the Southern Region, there were countless jade talismans hanging in a huge palace. The energy within these jade talismans was extremely mysterious. Suddenly, one of the jade talismans broke apart. Someone's token has shattered. Find out whose token it is. In the palace, a few old men's eyes were filled with killing intent. Who dares to kill a member of the Southern Region royal family? It's Nan Yun. Countless panicked voices rang out in the palace. Nan Yun? Find out. Secret divination technique. Water mirror Dao. Find out who dares to kill a member of the Southern Region royal family. The 3 old men started to make their divination. A water mirror suddenly appeared. At the same time, a huge eyeball suddenly appeared above Chu Fengmian. The moment Bai Xian saw the eyeball, her face turned pale. She knew that there was an elite trying to divine their whereabouts. If the elite of the southern region royal family managed to divine that the two of them had killed young Master Yun, they would be hunted down endlessly by the southern region royal family. Humph! Chu Fengmian looked at the eyeball that suddenly appeared in the sky. Suddenly, his body moved and he transformed into the ancient war dragon. With a roar, a huge war dragon claw appeared. Boom! The war dragon claw pierced into the huge eyeball. Instantly, the huge eyeball was torn apart by Chu Fengmian's strength. Boom! On the other side, the water mirror in front of the enormous palace had just formed when an incomparably huge figure smashed the water mirror into smithereens. The atmosphere in the palace was extremely tense. The few old men fell silent. The killing intent in their eyes had weakened significantly. It's the dragon tribe. Although I can't see it clearly, it's the purest dragon energy. Nan Yun died at the hands of the dragon tribe. The few old men fell silent. Since Nan Yun had died, the southern region royal family would not sit still. No matter who had killed Nan Yun, they would hunt him down and take revenge. However, it showed that it was the dragon tribe. Although the dragon tribe rarely appeared in the 9 regions, the terror of the dragon tribe had always been recorded in the ancient book. Even the 7 major sects did not dare to go to war with the dragon tribe, let alone the southern region royal family. What should we do? We can't afford to offend the dragon tribe. The dragon tribe is so protective of their people. If we kill their people, we'll be finished. The few old men looked at each other. One could see the helplessness in each of their voices. The entire southern region might not be able to go against the dragon tribe. Nan Yun has actually offended the dragon tribe. In the end, one of the old men said slowly, "Forget it. Let's just say that Nan Yun died in a dangerous place. It's not worth it to offend the dragon tribe for Nan Yun." The other old men nodded in agreement. Just like that, the matter was quietly suppressed. On the other side, Chu Fengmian was satisfied with what he had done. Now that he had activated his war dragon bloodline, his aura was no different from that of a real dragon. His martial skill was also from the dragon tribe, and his strength was the dragon energy. Now that Chu Fengmian had blamed the dragon tribe for young Master Yun's death, he wanted to see if the southern region royal family would dare to offend the dragon tribe. Chapter 5:15. The southern region royal family's divination was fooled just like that? Sikong Xian, who was lying on the ground, could not believe it. One of the most important life-saving methods that the disciples of the major factions relied on was the ability to divine the past. Once they fell, the experts of their families would divine it to find the culprit and hunt them down. Because of this, the families behind them were their trump card. No matter how strong the experts were, they would not dare to provoke such a powerful entity. That was why they were fearless. But now, the southern region royal family's divination was easily diverted by Chu Fengmian. This was terrifying. Chu Fengmian had transformed into an ancient war dragon. His aura was no different from a real dragon. No matter who Chu Fengmian killed, he could divert the calamity to the dragon tribe. Sikong Xian wanted to use this to threaten Chu Fengmian, but seeing young Master Yun die in Chu Fengmian's hands, Sikong Xian's heart was filled with fear. When did such a monstrous talent appear in the North region? Is this really something a 4th-level divine power realm martial artist can do? This technique caused Sikong Xian's body to tremble uncontrollably. Chu Fengmian, please let me go. I promise I won't tell anyone about what happened today. The treasures in the ancient Yen Dragon Emperor cave are all yours as long as you let me go. Sikong Xian knelt in front of Chu Fengmian and begged loudly. Bai Xian saw Sikong Xian's actions and sighed. In the face of death, even a genius like Sikong Xian did not care about his dignity and knelt down to beg for mercy. In fact, the more a genius like Sikong Xian was, the more afraid they were of death. They were talented and had unlimited potential in the future. No one wanted to die early. Let you go? What a joke. Today, the 4 of you are going to die. You can join them as well. Chu Fengmian glanced at Xikong Xian and sneered. With a squeeze of his hand, Xikong Xian died in Chu Fengmian's hands. Bang! Xikong Xian's vitality was devoured by Chu Fengmian. If Xikong Xian had some backbone and was willing to die, Chu Fengmian might have had the mood to keep him alive and subdue him. Now, in order to live, Xikong Xian had directly knelt down, forsaking his dignity, and was willing to beg for mercy. Chu Fengmian despised people like him the most. In his previous life, Chu Fengmian was powerless. Under the coercion of the 7 major sects, he was unwilling to beg for mercy and would rather commit suicide. A person without dignity like this didn't even have the right to be Chu Fengmian's slave. Xikong Xian is dead. The Xikong family will definitely not let the matter rest. Young Master Yun is just an unfavored prince in the southern region imperial family. So what if he dies? Bai Xian warned after seeing Chu Fengmian kill Xikong Xian. However, Xikong Xian is the #1 genius of the Xikong clan's younger generation. Now that you've killed him, the Xikong clan will definitely not let this matter rest. With the Xikong clan's methods, it won't be difficult to investigate what happened today. You must be careful. Chu Fengmian coldly snorted and said. His expression was incomparably relaxed. It doesn't matter. Xikong Xian must die. If the Xikong clan wants to investigate what happened today, they won't be able to do it in a day. As long as I have some time, the Xikong clan will be nothing. Whoever dares to come for revenge will die. As long as I have enough strength, the Xikong clan will be nothing. If the Xikong clan dares to come looking for trouble, I'll destroy them sooner or later. Chu Fengmian coldly snorted. His strength was already enough to contend against some 4th or 5th level life and death realm expert. As long as Chu Fengmian's strength took another step forward, he would be able to contend against those high-level life and death realm expert. At that time, it wouldn't be easy for the Xikong clan to deal with Chu Fengmian. High-level life and death realm experts were elders with extremely high positions in the North Sea Academy. As for those above life and death realm, they were all old antiques who didn't care about worldly affairs. As long as one had the strength of a high-level life and death realm expert, they would be able to stand tall in the northern region. No one would dare to look down on them. Let's go to Dragon Emperor Yan's cave first, Chu Fengmian directly said. Counter soldiers with arms, water with an earth weir. Right now, the most important thing was to increase his strength. As long as he had enough strength, not to mention going against the Xikong clan, even destroying them wouldn't be a problem. There must be something in Dragon Emperor Yan's cave that was of great use to Chu Fengmian. Otherwise, his bloodline wouldn't be so eager. Chu Fengmian had to get this thing. Rumble. Suddenly, another sound was heard from outside. Then, countless auras appeared. Ha 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 ha, there's indeed another world inside this cave. It's actually a small world. I wonder what kind of treasure is inside. Countless figures suddenly poured into this small world. Many of these people were dressed in red, and each of them was covered in demonic qi. It's the Earth Demon Sex people. Bai Xian saw these figures that suddenly appeared, and her face suddenly changed. Especially when she looked at them one by one, her face changed greatly. Young Master White Bone, War Demon Sovereign, Saint Sun Gui Gu, Bloodthirsty Demon Sovereign. Every time a name was called, Bai Xian's face became paler. These are the genius disciples of the Earth Demon sect. Their strength is not lower than the inner disciples of our North Sea Academy. Some of them are even comparable to the strength of a seed disciple. How did these Earth Demon Sex people find this place? It seems that Xikong Xian isn't the only one who knows about Dragon Emperor Yan's cave. There are also people from the Earth Demon sect who know about this. Chu Fengmian's eyes flickered as he looked at these Earth Demon Sex disciples who suddenly appeared. Their strength was not inferior to Xikong Xian and the others. Even with a glance, Chu Fengmian could tell that a few of them were much stronger than Xikong Xian and the others. There were more than 10 Earth Demon Sect's disciples, and they suddenly poured in. That wasn't all. At the entrance, a surge of spiritual energy suddenly burst out. Life and Death Realm. The moment she saw this demonic chi, Bai Xian's voice trembled slightly. The person who came this time was actually a life and death realm expert from the Earth Demon sect. This was a man with an eagle nose, and his whole body was filled with a monstrous demonic chi. It could be said that he was an extremely terrifying person. This is the Undying Demon Sovereign, a big shot in the Earth Demon sect, an invincible 6th-level life and death realm expert. Such an old antique actually appeared. Bai Xian saw the man with an eagle nose and said loudly. Her tone was full of disbelief. Chapter 5:16. Chu Fengmian's eyes also landed on the Undying Demon Venerable mentioned by Bai Xian, a 6th-level life and death expert. A 6th-level life and death expert was definitely a big shot even in the Earth Demon sect. With his strength, he could easily crush Chu Fengmian. Waves of frightening demonic intent filled the surroundings. Such a big shot would normally be in seclusion and wouldn't appear. It seemed like the Earth Demon sect also had their eyes on Dragon Emperor Yan's cave. They actually wanted such a big shot to come out and seize the treasures inside. Let's go. Chu Fengmian glanced at the Undying Demon Venerable. He grabbed Bai Xian and directly entered Dragon Emperor Yan's cave. Chu Fengmian might be able to deal with the other Earth Demon sect's disciples, but facing the Undying Demon Venerable, only death would await him. The treasures inside Dragon Emperor Yan's cave were extremely important to Chu Fengmian. He had to obtain them today. Chu Fengmian had to find the treasures inside before the Earth Demon sect's people entered the cave. Someone's here. Someone's in Dragon Emperor Yan's cave. The moment Chu Fengmian noticed the Earth Demon sect's disciples, they also noticed Chu Fengmian's presence. The Undying Demon Venerable seemed to have also noticed Chu Fengmian's presence. The moment Chu Fengmian was about to enter Dragon Emperor Yan's cave, he glanced over. This glance contained a supreme sure-kill technique, which shook Chu Fengmian's mind and made him dizzy. Sky-devouring godly python. Devouring demonic intent. Chu Fengmian hurriedly urged his sword intent, turning it into a sky-devouring godly python and fusing with his body. Immediately, the demonic intent in Chu Fengmian's body was devoured by the sky-devouring godly python. Chu Fengmian's crisis was immediately resolved. Let's go. Chu Fengmian took Bai Xian and rushed into Dragon Emperor Yan's cave abode the moment the demonic intent was neutralized. High-level life and death experts are indeed frightening. Chu Fengmian heaved a sigh of relief after entering Dragon Emperor Yan Gu's cave dwelling. The 6th level of life and death realm was equivalent to entering the upper levels of life and death realm. The 6th level of life and death realm was a threshold, and one's strength and status would instantly change. A 6th level life and death expert was someone even a colossus like the North Mang Academy would have to treat with respect and try to rope in. This Undying Demon Venerable is really terrifying. What should we do? Do you want to contact the experts from the North Sea Academy? Bai Xian could not help but ask. The Undying Devil Venerable was no longer someone they could deal with. Only the big shots of the Beimang Academy could contend against him. No, the people from the North Mang College are here. Neither of us can get the treasures in Dragon Emperor Yan's cave. Chu Fengmian shook his head. He extended his spiritual awareness to the outside and found that more and more people were pouring into this small world. It seemed like the news of Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling had spread like wildfire. Many martial artists had heard the news and were pouring in. In just a few minutes, more than 100 martial artists had poured in. This was not a large number. Let's go. It's a mess outside. We might have a chance to get the treasures in this chaos. Chu Fengmian said and led Bai Xian into the depths of Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling. The cave dwelling of Dragon Emperor Yen Gu looked like an extremely deep maze. There were countless forks in the maze, and no one knew which one was the true path. This way. Chu Fengmian led by Xian forward rapidly. His route was guided by the battle dragon bloodline in his body. If the battle dragon bloodline was so eager, it must be the true treasures in Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling. Chu Fengmian spread out his spiritual awareness as he moved forward. More than 100 martial artists had already entered Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling. However, Dragon Emperor Yan's cave dwelling was incomparably huge. It was not easy for everyone to find it. Everyone's route was different. Why is the spiritual qi in this cave dwelling so dense? Chu Fengmian observed the situation in the cave dwelling and suddenly frowned. The spiritual qi in this cave dwelling was indeed extremely dense. It was comparable to the spiritual qi in the sacred mountain. One should know that the sacred mountain was directly connected to a spiritual spring. That was why there was such dense spiritual qi. Could it be that there was a spiritual spring in this cave dwelling as well? Thinking of this, Chu Fengmian's heart was filled with joy. The amount of spiritual qi in a spiritual spring was probably limitless. If he could really get a spiritual spring, then Chu Fengmian would have endless wealth. He would also be able to continuously gather ancient battle dragon blood essence. It would be enough to raise his battle dragon skill to a new level. Let's look around first. Chu Fengmian made a prompt decision. He scanned the surroundings and his body flashed continuously. Soon, he arrived at the end of a tunnel. At the end of the tunnel, there was a huge colorless crystal. King-grade spiritual stone. This is a king-grade spiritual stone. What a huge piece. The moment Bai Xian saw the colorless crystal, she was stunned. Then, she asked in disbelief. The colorless crystal was as tall as a person. It was actually a whole king-grade spiritual stone. One should know that Bai Xian was lucky enough to get a small piece. She didn't expect to find such a huge piece. This king-grade spiritual stone was equivalent to at least 500 king-grade spiritual stones after being cut. What kind of concept was 500 king-grade spiritual stones? Even some of the North Sea Academy's seed disciples didn't have such wealth. With such a huge amount of wealth, Bai Xian's strength would improve a lot. It could even help her enter the life and death realm. Quickly, collect it. Bai Xian couldn't resist the temptation. She gathered her spiritual qi and wanted to collect the king-grade spiritual stone. Wait! Chu Fengmian stopped Bai Xian and pointed at the king-grade spiritual stone. Look above. Bai Xian looked in the direction Chu Fengmian was pointing at and saw that the surface of the king-grade spirit stone was covered with countless restrictions. These seals were filled with dragon power. Once touched, one would suffer a backlash. If it was light, one would be seriously injured. If it was heavy, one would die. Damn it! Bai Xian hurriedly withdrew her spiritual qi. Her eyes were full of anger. Someone actually placed a restriction on the spirit stone. Who did this? It should be Dragon Emperor Yen Gu. Chu Fengmian looked at the seals on the king-grade spiritual stone and said thoughtfully, "Let me try and see if I can break the restriction on this." Chapter 5:17. Be careful. Bai Xian kindly reminded as she took a few steps back. The power of the seal made her feel a little afraid. Bai Xian felt that if she dared to take it without permission, the seal's power would be enough to destroy her. Chu Fengmian's face also turned serious. Chu Fengmian slowly stretched out his right hand and grabbed at the king-grade spirit stone. The moment he got close to the king-grade spirit stone, the seal on the king-grade spirit stone suddenly flashed, as if the power within was showing itself. Chu Fengmian knew that this was a warning. However, Chu Fengmian did not mind at all. He secretly activated the power of the battle dragon art in his heart. The power of the ancient battle dragon's blood essence in his bloodline was completely gathered, causing his right hand to turn into a battle dragon claw. The moment the battle dragon claw appeared, the seal on the king-grade spirit stone gradually calmed down. As expected, Seeing this scene, Chu Fengmian nodded inwardly. His right hand slowly grabbed at the King-grade Spirit Stone, and the seal on the King-grade Spirit Stone suddenly shattered before the battle dragon claw. The King-grade Spirit Stone fell into Chu Fengmian's hand and was stored in his spatial ring. This. How did you do it? Bai Xian's face was filled with disbelief when she saw Chu Fengmian easily take the King-grade Spirit Stone. The seal on the King-grade Spirit Stone was enough to easily destroy a life-and-death realm martial artist. But now, Chu Fengmian had easily neutralized it. It's just the power of bloodline. Dragon Emperor Yan deliberately left this cave dwelling behind. This King-grade Spirit Stone should also be left behind by him. Chu Fengmian heard Bai Xian's surprise and said with a smile. The seal on the King-grade Spirit Stone is only effective against the foreign races. It's ineffective against the dragon race. I had a fortuitous encounter and possess the dragon race's bloodline. Therefore, the seal is ineffective against me. Chu Fengmian didn't hide anything and calmly explained. Rather than saying that Dragon Emperor Yan left this cave dwelling behind by chance, it was more accurate to say that Dragon Emperor Yan deliberately left it behind. The restriction on the King-grade Spirit Stone was only effective against foreign races. It had no effect on beings with the dragon tribe's bloodline. It was just that the requirements for the bloodline were extremely high. According to Chu Fengmian's estimation, some martial artists with the dragon clan's bloodline would not be able to meet the requirements. Only Chu Fengmian cultivated the battle dragon art. His bloodline was not an ordinary true dragon bloodline, but the bloodline of an ancient battle dragon. That was why he could easily meet the requirements and break the restriction on it. So that's how it is. Hearing Chu Fengmian's explanation, Bai Xian suddenly thought of something and said loudly. If that's the case, does that mean the treasures in the ancient Yan Dragon Monarch cave abode are all sealed? It should be good. Chu Fengmian nodded. However, the seal on it won't be able to stop others. For example, the Undying Demon Exalted. If he's willing to spend some energy, it shouldn't be a problem for him to break the seal on it. The disciples of the Earth Demon sect can also break the seal if they join forces. Let's hurry up and collect more treasures, Chu Fengmian said. Without hesitation, he led Bai Xian and continued to use their spiritual senses to explore and collect the countless treasures in the cave. King-grade spiritual stones, countless spiritual weapons, and high-grade elixirs were all collected by Chu Fengmian. Looking at each item that Chu Fengmian collected, Bai Xian exclaimed. Any one of the treasures in the ancient Yan Dragon Monarch cave abode would be sold for a sky-high price outside. After all, the ancient Yan Dragon Monarch was once one of the top figures in the 9 regions. If the ancient Yan Dragon Monarch was reborn, it wouldn't be a problem for him to sweep across the North region. How could the treasures he left behind be few? The more treasures he collected, the more Chu Fengmian believed in his conjecture. The treasures in the ancient Yan Dragon Monarch cave abode were obviously left behind by the ancient Yan Dragon Monarch cave abode to be passed down to other experts of the Dragon Clan. However, an accident happened, and the cave abode was swept into the void ocean. It only appeared now, and Chu Fengmian took advantage of it. No matter what, I've struck gold this time. Chu Fengmian was overjoyed. In the ancient Yan Dragon Monarch cave abode, Chu Fengmian's bloodline power was unleashed to the extreme. The countless restrictions within posed no threat to Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian used a drop of his blood essence to disguise Bai Xian's aura as if she were a member of the dragon tribe. The two of them traveled freely in Dragon Emperor Yan's cave abode. Not a single restrictive spell could pose a threat to them. The ancient Yan Dragon Monarch cave abode had been opened for a day, and more than 100 martial artists had fallen in it. The ancient Yan Dragon Monarch cave abode was in the void ocean. Those who could come here were all peak saints. In a day, more than 100 of them had fallen. However, this didn't stop the enthusiasm of countless martial artists. On the contrary, more and more martial artists came to explore the ancient Yan Dragon Monarch cave abode. Chu Fengmian took a quick look. There were at least 1,000 people in the cave abode. Among them, the disciples of the Northern Sea Academy and the Earth Demon sect had also joined in. There were also many neighboring forces, such as the Southern Region royal family, that had joined in. The temptation of the treasures in the ancient Yen Dragon Monarch cave abode was enough to attract countless martial artists like moths to a flame. For example, the royal grade spirit stone that Chu Fengmian had casually obtained was a shocking amount of wealth. It was more than what they had accumulated in their lifetime. That was why so many people were willing to take the risk. In a day, more than half of the treasures in the ancient Yen Dragon Monarch cave abode have been collected. Chu Fengmian obtained another earth-grade spiritual elixir. He put it into his mouth and refined it. Then, Chu Fengmian looked around. Fortunately, we are already in the inner part of the ancient Yen Dragon Monarch cave abode. There shouldn't be many martial artists coming in. But where is the last treasure? Chu Fengmian had been following the guidance of his bloodline. However, the ancient Yen Dragon Monarch cave abode was much bigger than he had imagined. After a day, Chu Fengmian still hadn't reached the end. What a rich spiritual energy! Suddenly, Chu Fengmian stopped in front of a fork in the road. He looked around and found that there was a lot of pure spiritual energy in the surroundings. In a day, Chu Fengmian had learned that there was a treasure nearby. Chu Fengmian followed his spiritual consciousness and walked over. He saw a huge spiritual stone that was as tall as a man. However, this spiritual stone was extremely transparent. It was almost colorless. He could see that there were emerald green lines on it. Royal Grade Spiritual Jade. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.